Chapter 1245. It's too cruel. In outer space, the onlookers were sighing. This was the survival of a race, and also the cruelest war. There was no sympathy or mercy. Only by cutting the weeds and pulling out the roots could the other side win. After all, the Four Peaks Supreme Elders of the four great clans had come. From this, one could see their determination. Although the battle between the Supreme Elders was stabilized because of Blacksmith's participation, the battle between the Supreme Elders had caused the buried region to be pushed back again and again. Now, the great array that protected the Milky Way galaxy had been destroyed by the Han family's old ancestor. Thus, this battle had become extremely tragic and tragic. The entire back progenitor was dyed red with blood. The boundless territory was shaking and collapsing. Supreme Elders who fought in the heavens released their auras one after another, wiping out large numbers of the buried region clansmen. Now, although there were thousands of soldiers and horses at the forefront, fighting with their lives on the line. But how long could this kind of battle continue? All of a sudden, Xiaoho and the others rushed in to stop the experts of the four great clans that were slaughtering the ancestral star. But as long as any one of them reached out, they would be able to deal a devastating blow to the ancestral star. All of you can die. Ha ha. Among this group of people, the Han family's old ancestor was the cruelest. He didn't even spare a baby. As long as he saw a buried region clansman, he would directly crush their soul, destroying their body and soul. He was taking revenge. If he didn't slaughter the entire back progenitor until rivers of blood flowed, the anger in his heart would not subside. At the same time, the Four Peak clans hated the buried region clansmen to the bone. Su Xianren had fallen, but he had fallen in glory. This was a thorn in their hearts. It was only when East Demon's group had stepped into the Supreme Elder Realm that this thorn pierced through their hearts, causing them to be infuriated. Now, they aimed the flames of revenge at the buried region clansmen. They wanted to exterminate them all, to make their entire race extinct from the universe. Open the killing array, protect my race. A deep roar exploded, deafening everyone. It spread through the entire back progenitor, causing the blood-stained ancient star to shine. As it shook, it released a dazzling divine light. What a shocking turn of events. The buried region's clan was not that easy to break through. The back progenitor was the birthplace of their tribe and was of utmost importance to their tribe. Naturally, they had built an impregnable fortress and spent countless resources over the past few decades to ensure that the back progenitor could withstand the test of war. Boom! One after another, the sound of thunder exploded, accompanied by one terrifying and huge divine light after another, shooting straight into the sky. Soon, the vast heavens began to tremble. The entire back progenitor, as well as the various large realms, seemed to have been divided in an instant. Every region was densely covered with thick formation runes, and the light of order lingered around them. Boom! Countless killing formations were activated, sending out beams of light that tore apart the blood-colored world and crushed the great planets in outer space. Many experts of the four tribes had their bodies pierced through and turned into bloody light. No less than 10,000 killing arrays were awakened from their slumber. They burned fiercely and radiated surging divine light. For a time, the entire solar system trembled. The rear progenitor was like a war star, flowing with boundless divine light. I hate this. The Han family's ancestor roared mournfully because he was very familiar with most of the activated killing arrays. These killing arrays were definitely from the Han family's treasury. Back when Xiaoho and the others attacked the Han family and emptied their resources, they had obtained all kinds of killing arrays. All of them had been placed in the back progenitor. Now that the tribe's survival was at stake, tens of thousands of killing arrays were activated and vast amounts of primal chaos liquid were burned. Countless great killing weapons were drawn from the treasury. Out. In a short period of time, the entire back progenitor was filled with killing intent. The clansmen were roaring, and the soldiers were roaring. We must win. We must subdue. They were shouting, emitting a tenacious vitality. In this battle for the survival of the tribe, all of their resources had been ignited igniting the craziest moment of this battle. This battle could only be won and not lost. It seems like they've long since prepared. The experts watching the battle from the outer realms were shocked. The tribe's resources have been completely revived, and they've brought out all of the buried region's resources. Even if the buried region is truly exterminated, the four great tribes won't be able to obtain any benefits from this battle. After all, this is the buried region's tribe. A heaven-defying genius like Su Xianren walked out. If they want to exterminate the buried region's tribe, even the four great tribes will have to pay a disastrous price. Speaking of the reason, it's because the Supreme Expert's battlefield has been stabilized. Otherwise, the buried region's tribe would have been defeated quickly. The Outer Realm spectators were all agitated. This battle was truly crazy to the extreme. Gods and demons danced chaotically, a bloody battle in the heavens. The boundless world of killing arrays operated, temporarily blocking the four great tribes' advance. At the same time, because of the sudden activation of the killing arrays, a large number of the enemy troops were killed, boosting the morale of the buried region's tribe. However, these losses weren't too big of a problem for the four great tribes. Many Supreme experts quickly broke through the arrays, sweeping away all obstacles. They wanted to finish off the entire buried region's tribe in a single day. All of you can die. A great killing array was broken. The Han family's old ancestor sinisterly laughed. He emitted a boundless divine soul energy, wantonly reaping lives in this area where the killing arrays were broken. Too many soldiers had their bodies and souls destroyed, dying tragically at the hands of the Han family's old ancestor. After all, Xiaoho and the others had been blocked, and the rear progenitor had been reduced to a land of blood. It was difficult for the current Earth to have the strength to contend with the Supreme Expert level strength. However, what the four great tribes didn't know was that the core seeds of the rear progenitor were sealed within the strongest smelting trial. Even if the rear progenitor had completely fallen, the strongest smelting trial would be extremely difficult to break through. Why must our tribe bear all of this? Xiaze roared. He wanted to join the great array and resist the enemy. However, they were sealed within the strongest smelting trial and were unable to fight. They could only watch on helplessly as everything unfolded, whether it was for public or private reasons. If the rear progenitor was truly defeated at the most critical moment, then the buried region's race would still have a batch of seeds left. In the future, there would still be hope to continue the tribe's flame of inheritance. Within the strongest smelting trial, the majority were children and women. The rest were young seeds with great potential. They hadn't grown up yet, so if they really joined the war, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. They wouldn't be of much use. The old chieftain didn't wish for them to die because of this. Over the endless years, the buried region's race had shed too much blood. However, it was precisely because the strongest seeds had survived at every critical moment of life and death that the buried region's race had been able to survive and rise in the future. This was the reason why the buried region's race had been able to continue for so many generations. As long as they were still alive, the buried region's race would not be exterminated. The entire race was bleeding. Su Bingshuang and the others were crying. They didn't want to hide and helplessly watch as their people bled to death. They also wanted to join the war and do their part. This was a cruel war between races. The old chieftain didn't wish to see the buried region's race bleed to the last drop of blood. This war had also baptized them, giving them a heart that would grow stronger. Only with strength could they not be bullied and humiliated. Only with strength could they continue the race's flame of inheritance in the cruel environment of the universe. Good brother, where are you? The rear progenitor needs you. The entire race needs you. The fat man's voice was hoarse. He hoped to see Su Yan's figure appear, to see his unparalleled majesty. For their race that had shed so much blood, having a young king that could sweep through the world was far too important. Ha! I've already slaughtered so many. Su Xianren, do you see it? The Han family's old ancestor was about to turn into a madman. His primordial spirit emitted an icy cold aura as he fiendishly laughed. Is the Yellow Springs Road dyed red with blood? Little brat, are you screaming on the Yellow Springs Road? This is the price you have to pay for destroying my race. The Han family's old ancestor had already broken through 10 areas covered by killing arrays. Rivers of blood flowed, and mountains of corpses were piled up. His killing intent grew heavier and heavier, his aura growing colder and colder. He continued to wander around the rear progenitor. At this time, he discovered an important area. He vaguely caught a vast space fluctuation. Could this be the buried region's treasury? The Han family's old ancestor was overjoyed. He still wanted to rebuild the Han family's glory. There were still many members of the Han family that were still alive. If he could destroy the entire buried region and obtain their inheritance, then the hope of rebuilding the Han family would be great. A domain laid down by a supreme expert. Kiki, it seems like this place is very important to the buried region's race. The Han family's old ancestor sneaked into this area. During the process, he didn't alert the experts of the Four Peak races. The Han family's old ancestor's eyes were sharp. He was an 8th grade great-grandmaster. With a single glance, he saw through how astonishing the space-time domain laid down in this area was. However, with his methods, it wasn't difficult to sneak in. He used a strange secret technique to reverse the layout of this area and open a space-time path. However, just as the Han family's old ancestor was about to rush into the space-time path, his primordial spirit trembled. The Han family's old ancestor's heart was filled with fear. He felt that opening this path was a mistake. It was like accidentally opening a space-time seal that imprisoned a true dragon. Thump, 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 one after another, the sound of a heartbeat suddenly appeared. It sounded soft and slow, but when it spread out, it was like millions of claps of thunder. Because the vitality contained in it was too terrifying. It was like a true dragon that had been sleeping for thousands of years was awakening from its slumber. This strange fluctuation also spread throughout the rear progenitor the moment the space-time path opened. The moment this faint, dormant vitality surged, all the creatures in the rear progenitor trembled. They felt as if their bodies were about to collapse. What's that? Some powerhouses from the 4 tribes opened their heavenly eyes and looked into the distance. They quickly saw the Han family's old ancestor opening the space-time tunnel. Waves after waves of Emperor Qi flowed out from it, returning from its slumber. This aura was familiar, but they couldn't remember where they had encountered it before. Finally, the half-dormant aura was completely awakened. Space-time outside the realm trembled as if millions of suns had fused together and exploded. The chi and blood that it emitted were too vast and majestic. At the same time, waves of terrifying primordial spirit fluctuations leaked out, suppressing the Han family's old ancestor. His primordial spirit trembled uncontrollably, and his primordial spirit was about to collapse. He turned around and ran as far away as he could in fear. Many people's expressions changed. What kind of hidden trump card was this? It had scared away the Han family's old ancestor. Could it be that the burial realm's old ancestor still had some unfathomable hidden trump card? I'm alive again. A low roar exploded. His aura became even more terrifying, and the surging power forcibly shattered the outerverse. When the slumbering old ancestor came back to life, his golden eyes opened. 2 golden rays of light shot out, splitting the universe and filling it with the flames of battle. Chapter 1246. Within the boundless darkness, a pair of golden eyes appeared. They were blazing with surging light, as if a compressed sun had exploded. Bang! As the golden eyes opened and closed, large cracks appeared in the heavens and earth. Resplendent splendor surged out, shattering the bloodlight that filled the skies and penetrating into the outer realms. It was filled with a world-shaking heavenly might. A terrifying life form is awakening. A pair of heavenly eyes can pierce through the great universe. What level of heavenly eyes are these? I've never heard of them before. This is too ridiculous. The spectators in the outer realms were all trembling, their hairs standing on end. The aura of the awakened posterior progenitor was too tyrannical. Moreover, the pair of golden eyes seemed to reflect the past and future. The golden eyes emitted an incomparable divine might, making it so that no one dared to look directly at them. Su Yan's eyes were very strange. He felt that it was because of his bloodline replenishment. Previously, the Divine King had the ability to spit out blood, but now he had the powerful heavenly eyes. Great changes were born in the world. No one could have imagined that during the process of the four peak races joining forces to besiege the Burial Realm clan, such a ridiculous change would occur. Even though this was a battlefield of supreme experts, Zhu Qianba and the others had gloomy expressions. They could clearly sense an astonishing energy fluctuation coming from the posterior progenitor. Moreover, it continued to flourish. Could it be that the clan had another supreme expert? They had a bad premonition in their hearts. If this clan could produce another almighty, then if they wanted to exterminate the burial region, they would have to go back to the clan and awaken more of their dormant old antiques. But if they did that, their clan's foundation would be severely damaged. After all, awakening a slumbering old antique required a massive amount of heavenly materials and earthly treasures to restore their withered blood source. This sort of loss was extremely difficult for the peak races to bear. One or two of them would be fine, but they simply couldn't afford to lose more. Bang! In an instant, an extremely mighty figure seemed to have returned from a long slumber, and he emanated waves that were like a raging sea. Moreover, his entire body shot into the sky, and it was too terrifying. The entire space outside the outer verse was trembling along with him. Roar! Su Yan released a great roar and broke out of seclusion. His divine might leaked outwards, and his aura swallowed the sea of stars. His entire body rumbled as he charged forward. His speed was too fast, and his body was so majestic that it was difficult to look at him directly. He was like an ancient superstar that crossed the sky and charged towards the battlefield. Su Yan woke up and understood what had happened in the outside world. The progenitor had been destroyed, and too many clansmen had died. He was infuriated, and a power that could slaughter all gods and devils filled the sky, filled the air. Along the way, the Han family's patriarch was filled with despair. His entire primordial spirit began to distort and tremble, and even cracks began to appear. No, he felt despair. What kind of primordial spirit fluctuation was this? It simply exceeded the most powerful, chasing after the legendary Forbidden Domain. His almighty primordial spirit appeared especially insignificant outside the soul light leaking out from between Su Yan's brows. In the end, when that person rushed over, the Han family's old ancestor couldn't help but kneel on the ground and shiver as if he was repenting for his crimes. At this moment, the Han family's old ancestor was terrified. Could it be that the forbidden domain of the buried region had come out of seclusion? But this world forbade the experts of this domain from coming out. Why could the forbidden domain of this race stand out? So it's you. Su Yan's divine might was vast. He noticed the Han family's old ancestor and stopped. A pair of blazing golden eyes stared at him. Under Su Yan's gaze, the Han family's old ancestor's primordial spirit trembled. His gaze was too intense, and the temperature was boiling, as if it could melt all things. What kind of heaven's eye was this? It was unimaginably powerful and wanted to melt his primordial spirit. A slightly familiar voice exploded in the Han family's old ancestor's ears. When he raised his head and looked at the figure that was suffused with golden radiance. Although the figure was somewhat blurry, he could still clearly see some features. The Han family's old ancestor's face was mournful. He forgot his pain and despair, and his eyes were covered with hatred. He pointed at Su Yan and let out a hysterical roar. How is this possible? How can it be you? The Han family's old ancestor seemed to have gone mad. His mind was on the verge of collapsing. A dead Su Yan, wasn't he supposed to be dead? But how could he still come out and stand here, and even look down on him? The Han family's old ancestor lost control and roared to the heavens. How could he still be alive? The evils you bring upon yourself are the hardest to bear, Su Yin coldly replied. His forehead surged with terrifying primordial spirit fluctuations. His soul body was too strong, and he was like another Su Yin. He brought with him an indescribable soul suppression, and in an instant, the Han family's old ancestor's primordial spirit body began to collapse. The Han family's old ancestor roared with grief and indignation. His heart was filled with pain and hatred. He would rather kill himself than die in the hands of Su Yin. The current Su Yin was so strong that it made him despair. A ruthless person who was once invincible in the immortal graveyard, who killed supreme experts, had come back to life. The Han family's old ancestor self-destructed unwillingly. In fact, Su Yin's primordial spirit aura alone was enough to kill the Han family's old ancestor. Pong! The old ancestor's soul body was completely destroyed. The death of the Han family's old ancestor also indicated that the Han family's inheritance was completely severed. At the same time, Su Yin raised his hand and grabbed the time ring that flew out after the old ancestor's primordial spirit collapsed. Su Yin was looking forward to seeing if the Occult Gates 8th grade chapter was in the Han family's old ancestor's spatial treasure. The Han family's old ancestor has fallen. Who is he? The experts who were wantonly slaughtering in the rear progenitor were shocked. The person who came out of seclusion was extremely powerful. The Han family's old ancestor was killed in a single move. Now, he had crossed over and his aura was ferocious to the extreme. He's here. He's so strong. It's hard to match him. The faces of the various experts turned pale. The person who rushed over was extremely ferocious. His figure crossed the universe, and his imposing figure simply filled the entire rear progenitor. He arrived almost instantaneously and rushed over. Wrapped in a heaven-defying energy source, he was accompanied by a vast source of essence blood. He was extremely tyrannical. Along the way, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. Gods wept and ghosts wept. This was truly a chaotic dance of gods and devils. The scene was so violent that it split the sky. A large number of executioners who were slaughtering the residents of the rear progenitor exploded into pieces. The Divine King only had the right to tremble. That was because the person who came out of seclusion hadn't even made a move. Just now, the surging primordial spirit between his brows had already evaporated their souls and extinguished their life imprints. Their flesh shells fell to the ground without any signs of life. I'm back again. Su Yin let out a great roar. It was as if he was announcing to the world that he had returned. He had survived and stood up once more. He had even torn apart the Divine King's bottleneck and pierced through to the realm of Almighty. Su Yan's current state couldn't be deduced with common sense. The giant palace had slumbered for as long as the ancient times. It allowed Su Yin to obtain a supreme inheritance. Moreover, his ruined body was reconstructed by the 9 bamboo leaves and became incomparably powerful. Boom! The heaven and earth trembled. The world surging with bloody light was completely destroyed by this figure. The once invincible Su Xianren of the immortal graveyard had been resurrected. His slumbering blood was burning with anger. He saw the entire rear progenitor flowing with rivers of blood. Because of this, Su Yin was enraged. His eyes widened and erupted with a resplendent golden light, filled with killing intent. Hurry and stop him. The 3 almighty beings joined forces and released their greatest combat strength. They burned their almighty source energy to form a defensive barrier that covered the skies. They wanted to stop Su Yin. But how valiant was Su Yin? So what if the 3 almighty beings joined forces to resonate with their source energy? The light of order that filled the skies was crushed by Su Yin's body. It completely collapsed. All matter was evaporated by the burning blood essence in his body. What a powerful figure. Even the 3 almighty beings joining forces can't resist him. Who is that person? Could he be another supreme almighty being? Could he be a supreme almighty being that just walked out of the buried region? I don't know. Maybe he's the ultimate trump card of the race that was unsealed on the day when the race was in danger. The onlookers in the outer region were frightened. Su Yin was like an inextinguishable, immortal furnace. His qi and blood were endless, and his power was getting more and more shocking. They couldn't see through Su Yan's figure. They could only see the sea of blood that surged out of his body, drowning the three almighty beings. At that moment, they screamed in pain. It wasn't a person that was coming, but a fierce dragon that had been sleeping for eternity. The three almighty beings' spines were crushed by the overflowing source of qi and blood in Su Yan's body. Their almighty bodies were about to explode. No, they were really desperate. That person was too terrifying. The source of qi and blood that filled the air was unbearable for their almighty bodies, and they were collapsing. How powerful was that body? It was incomparably majestic, like an emperor overlooking the world. In the end, when Su Yin approached them, they saw what Su Yin looked like. The three almighty beings trembled and their legs turned to jelly. They understood what that person had just said. Yes, Su Xianren, who had dominated the deity graveyard back then, was alive again. He had returned alive and was looking down at them. Bang, bang, bang. 3 flowers of blood bloomed, dyeing the universe red. The three almighty beings were crushed by Su Yin one after another like scarecrows. The moment they exploded, the vast power of the origin scattered in the 4 oceans and spread across the entire back progenitor. Countless cultivators who had been severely injured and were struggling on the brink of death started to bathe in the origin of the grand cultivators, healing their bodies and standing up again. The god of war. It's definitely the god of war. Someone shouted uncontrollably. His eyes turned red as he saw hope. He roared, "The god of war has returned. He's still alive." The entire world was shocked. Countless people were shouting. That was because the earth-shattering sound shook the entire solar system. Who exactly is it? Those who were watching the battle in outer space were all scared. Who exactly was it that returned with such powerful rallying power? It made the entire race's fighting spirit ignite. They were all roaring, shaking the entire cosmos' starry seas. Boom! In the end, the person that everyone had been looking forward to appeared in the sky. His aura had been completely unsealed, and it was extremely terrifying. The surging qi and blood in his body filled the entire solar system and even continued to spread. It covered the entire starry sky and shook the vast universe. Even the creatures who were a long distance away saw a magnificent being rising in the blood-stained solar system. He was like an emperor of men, aiming to be the most powerful cultivator in the world. "You killed my people and destroyed my home. You all deserve to die." Su Yin roared. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he attacked the coalition army of the 4 species that was slaughtering in the back progenitor. At that critical moment, someone saw the truth and saw Su Yan's face. He roared hysterically, "He's alive. He's alive again." Chapter 1247. This was a powerful expert from the Dark Underworld race. Corpse qi surged within his body, and his demonic body was dyed red with blood. The number of progenitor cultivators who had fallen at his feet was hard to count. Previously, he had been looking around for his prey with his blood-red eyes. But now, Inji had lost control and roared. He had seen Su Yan's form and issued a warning. Even his blood-stained body was trembling. He was terrified of this Su Xianren who had dominated the immortal graveyard. But now he was alive again. A person who had died before 2 years had passed, and he had come back to life again. This made Inji despair. It had to be known that back in the immortal graveyard, Su Yin had even killed a supreme expert. More than 20 supreme experts had died in that battle. It was too horrible to look at, and the various races couldn't bear to think about it. But in the end, this invincible, ruthless person had died in the Tao Temple. He had died, and only then did the 4 races feel at ease. That was why they had been calm for more than a year before attacking the buried realm. But now, he had come back to life, and it seemed that he was even stronger. This made people despair. Inji roared into the sky, wanting to tell the world that this demon was still alive. Boom! An astonishing source of blood energy surged out, and Su Yan's body surged. The terrifying source of energy rumbled as it rushed towards Enji. His body alone was tyrannical to the extent that it could suppress the laws of order. His battle constitution was unparalleled, and he was like a war immortal rising from the ground. He surged with ferocious might, continuing the glory and legend of the past. He was too powerful, brave, and invincible. The world trembled with him. Enji was terrified, not daring to face Su Yan. He wanted to escape from this place, away from the buried realm. He didn't want to face this ruthless person ever again. Kill! Su Yan roared. His fist was enough to destroy the world. The moment it erupted, the void collapsed. His body surged with a source of energy that was even more vast than the sea. Enji despaired. For a short time, he also erupted with his strongest energy, wanting to resist Su Yan's shocking strength. But it was useless. Even though the dark underworld race's body was incomparably tough, he could only tremble in front of Su Yan's fist. Bang! This fist was dripping with blood. It smashed Ian Halberd's palm into pieces. The shocking impact destroyed his battle physique, causing half of his body to collapse. Blood, flesh, and broken bones danced in the sky. One had to know that this was an almighty being, but in front of Su Yan, he was like a scarecrow. They were not on the same level at all. Bang! In the next moment, Su Yan raised his hand and slammed it down. Ian Halberd was enveloped by the aura of death. His entire body was trembling. As the palm slammed down, he saw the Yellow Springs Purgatory and the gates of death. This palm strike obliterated the light of order that filled the sky and shattered Ian Halberd's source of life. This mighty figure was killed by a single palm strike. The extraterrestrial spectators were all scared stiff. This expert, who had just come out of seclusion, was too ferocious. He had just come out of seclusion and had already destroyed several almighty experts in succession. Killing almighty experts was as easy as slaughtering chickens. This was without a doubt a peerless almighty. No one had expected that the buried realm race would give birth to such a peerless almighty. The situation of the progenitors' battle had undergone a shocking reversal. Too many experts had fled, madly rushing out of the Milky Way. They did not want to face this ruthless person, because at this time, they remembered a dead person, Su Xianren. Could it be him? Is he still alive? When people die, the light goes out, but how can he live on? Some people's voices were trembling. Their hearts were filled with anticipation. Could it be the invincible Su Xianren? Could he survive again? But no matter whether it was him or not, in short, the situation of the progenitors' battle had been reversed. The whole world was boiling. The cries of battle resounded through the sky. The will of a group of races was awakening, erupting with a terrifying momentum. Not a single one of you can leave. Su Yan unleashed a massacre. He swept through all the almighty experts along the way. In the entire progenitors' battlefield, the flames of life were extinguished in large numbers. Su Yan's figure rapidly moved. Wherever he appeared, rivers of blood would flow. At this moment, Su Yan discovered that many extraterrestrial experts were about to leave the Milky Way. Don't even think about leaving. Su Yan faced the heavens and roared. His two hands stretched out, as if he were moving the two extremes of yin and yang. The stars in the starry skies began to rearrange themselves, causing the entire Milky Way to revolve like a cosmic millstone. At this time, the silent Milky Way was pushed by Su Yan's hands. With a loud rumble, it began to revolve, blooming with the light of millions and millions of stars. Mournful screams rang out. The instant the Milky Way's domain came back to life, countless experts' bodies exploded. Cultivators below the almighty realm simply couldn't hold on. The Milky Way's domain was terrifying. Once it began to revolve, even the Divine King was crushed into meat paste. The pressure of the entire galaxy was already present, not to mention that under Su Yan's push, its power soared and turned into a galactic dragon. Only the Almighty could barely resist, but they were also suppressed by the Milky Way's resurrected domain. Their bodies trembled as they cried out in horror, a strange secret technique. Could he be Su Xianren? He's still alive. How is this possible? These voices surged out one after another, causing the entire extraterrestrial space-time to tremble violently. Su Yin was still alive. What a joke. The invincible Su Yin is still alive. Can you believe it? Many people were stunned. When a myth was broken, Su Yan's prestige still lingered. Everyone's expression changed when they talked about him. But when the myth continued and glory was reunited, this would lead to a terrifying problem. That person was the Emperor of Men, overlooking the entire universe. He caused the entire Milky Way to revolve as if a galactic dragon was roaring. As Su Yan's arms turned, the Milky Way revolved with a rumble. Tens of thousands of enemies died tragically. Their blood was like a waterfall, dyeing the entire galaxy red. All the Almighty fled in horror, using all their strength to struggle in the domain. They simply didn't want to face Su Xianren, who had once killed an Almighty, and Su Yin, who could destroy the body of an Almighty even when his body was in the Divine King's realm. How is this possible? Song Tian's hair stood on end. He was terrified. That person was still alive? Damn, was the heavens joking with him? Ever since the strongest group of young overlords died in battle, the heavens still had hope for them to rise again. But when the expert who destroyed the ultimate myth returned, would there still be glory in this world? Without a doubt, when this person appeared, everything would be reduced to a foil. Moreover, the current Su Yin was definitely an almighty among almighties. His combat power was definitely on par with any almighty. If they were to engage in a life and death battle, who would win and who would lose was really a big problem. None of you will survive. A cold voice came from the banquet and transmitted to every almighty expert who was struggling in the Milky Way's domain. They were panicking because of this, as if the Grim Reaper was speaking. In a moment of desperation, this group of experts released their strongest power to blast open the Milky Way's domain and escape from the Milky Way. However, that person's figure came across the sky and killed his way to the first Almighty. His vitality was at its peak, and he was endlessly terrifying. He simply suppressed the entire Milky Way and swallowed the sea of stars. Su Yin raised his fist and attacked. At his peak state, his aura alone was enough to terrify the almighty experts. In his current state, as long as it wasn't an almighty, who would dare to fight with Su Yin? It's really you. The almighty from the ancestral hall was terrified. He tried to raise his palm to resist, but his entire arm was bent and couldn't withstand Su Yan's strength. He didn't even have the chance to resist. Moreover, with the Milky Way's domain suppressing him, Su Yin was like a tiger that had grown wings. His combat power soared. The Almighty from the ancestral hall screamed miserably. Blood spurted out from his body, and even bone fragments sputtered out from his pores. He couldn't survive and didn't even have the hope of reviving his combat power. This was because Su Yan's aura had completely suppressed him. Bang! In the end, he exploded into a cloud of blood mist. His heart was filled with despair as he went on his way miserably. An almighty expert was brutally killed by Su Yin just like that. This made the other almighty experts who were still struggling in the Milky Way's domain shout, "Go! Go quickly!" Boom! In the blink of an eye, they all ignited their almighty origins and violently shook the Milky Way's domain in order to escape. Otherwise, they would all die miserably in Su Yan's hands. Even though using their almighty origins would cause them great losses, it was still much better than losing their lives. Gotcha! The first almighty was directly smashed into pieces by Su Yan's figure that came from the sky. The moment blood dyed the Milky Way's domain red, the world went berserk and crazy to the extreme. Even the gods and demons were crying as the entire star system began to boil. This was a great calamity coming out of seclusion and killing one almighty expert after another in the Milky Way. Who could stop him? Even if the almighty expert's sacred weapon was the path breaker, Su Yan's tyrannical body had the means to shatter it. He killed one person in every 10 steps. He moved unhindered in the star system and killed almighty experts one after another. This thick stench of blood spread out. The scene of blood staining the heavens was followed by the withering of giants. The entire solar system was dyed red with blood. The last progenitor caused a sensation all over the world. The god of war returned and turned the tide. At this moment, he became the main character of the world. The Su Yin who once looked down on Su Yin was now a scarecrow dancing in front of Su Yin and then exploding. Although some people burned their lifespan and tore a corner of the domain to escape from the Milky Way, they still faced despair. However, what awaited them in the outside world was still despair. Xiaohou and the others had been waiting outside for a long time. They were waiting for the moment when these people tore apart the force field and struck with lightning speed. Kill! All the experts of the Buried Realm clan roared like crazy demons. Not only did they want to win this battle, but they also wanted to crush the four peak clans of the universe. They wanted to be invincible in this universe and suppress the river of time. You evil creature, you're still alive. In the end, the thick, billowing smell of blood caused the battlefield of the supreme powerhouses to erupt into chaos. The third son of primal chaos let out a mournful howl. He saw Su Yin. He was still alive and was in the midst of a massacre. He wanted to destroy all the experts of the four great tribes. The third son of chaos couldn't bear it. The second son of chaos went to the Tao Temple to kill Su Yin and sacrificed his life for nothing. Zhu Qianba and the others' eyes turned red. Su Yin had come back to life with a powerful aura. He had dominated the world for decades. Finally, he came and became one of the most powerful beings in the universe. You bullied my people and tried to destroy my race. Today, I'll make you pay with your blood. Su Yan's aura became stronger and stronger as he rushed into the depths of the universe. The light flowing out of his body was so bright that it made the dark universe burn brighter. He crossed the universe alone, cut through the sky, and killed his way into the battlefield of the almighty experts. Emperor in one battle. Xiahou raised his arms and shouted. His eyes were burning with fire and desire. He looked up and roared, "We must win this battle. We must win. We must win." It's even later. I was supposed to update at noon, so I'm writing slowly. The next chapter will be updated later. I'll rest for a while before writing. Su Yin said that he had finally stepped into the realm of Almighty. He took out his universe weapon and pointed at you guys. Hurry up and send me monthly tickets. Chapter 1248. Emperor in a single battle. The deafening sound spread throughout the entire solar system, resounding in the ears of all living beings. It was like billions of thunderbolts, accompanied by Su Yan's continued mythical might, filling the entire universe. Thousands of sects were in an uproar, and the universe was boiling. Emperor in a single battle. What a terrifying belief. This was the high hopes and trust Xiahou and the others had for Su Yin. The race longed to rise, to stand up, and never be humiliated. Even if heaven and earth returned in the future, and the taboo appeared, the Zhongyu race would ignite the final glory. If they couldn't even pass this hurdle, then in the future, the race would be destroyed, and the name of the Zhongyu race would be buried in the long river of time. One person propped up the sky for the race, standing proudly and shaking the universe. Emperor in a single battle, our race will win. Victory in every battle, victory in every attack. Emperor in a single battle, invincible, kill all enemies. The whole world was in an uproar. Billions of people's blood surged, and their angry roars reached the heavens. Their emotions were burning, containing hope, the momentum of the race, and the fate of the race. It blazed and exploded in the universe. This was the beginning of an ancient lion's awakening. The race's momentum gathered, and the universe was shaking. It was about to rush to the top. At this moment, the vast universe was trembling, alarmed by the awakening of the Zhongyu race. It was completely one person standing in the front, leading the race's momentum, shaking the long river of time and space, and sweeping through the entire universe. Was Zhongyu race? The extraterrestrial spectators trembled. Someone said in a trembling voice, "The Zhongyu race is about to rise." Because of one person, They are glorious. If Su Yin defeats the four-peak races, then someone almost roared. He can really be emperor in a single battle. Don't call him Su Xianren. In the future, call him Emperor Su. Too many cultivators found it hard to calm down. They looked at the figure in the distance. He illuminated the heavens with dreamy colors, full of the might of an emperor. If he could really be invincible, then what would he be if not the emperor of a generation? This already extremely imposing figure pressured the crowd to the point of suffocation. Even Song Tian began to tremble in fear. How could they fight against him? What other trump cards did he have to show off in front of a powerhouse who was about to become an emperor? Emperor! Su Yin clenched his fists tightly as he roared in his heart. Although he killed the Supreme Almighty in the immortal graveyard back then, the Su Yin back then should have relied on a taboo foundation. However, the current Su Yin must have just stepped into the realm of almighties. How can a powerhouse who has just broken through this barrier be able to fight against a peerless emperor? Another important point was that Su Yin did not break through in the new universe environment. Instead, he broke through in the post-progenitor. In that case, Su Yin was not a new era powerhouse. He couldn't be so heaven-defying that he could fight against a supreme powerhouse, right? But what they didn't know was what Su Yin had experienced in the giant palace and what inheritance and orthodoxy he had obtained. In the unique environment of the giant palace, it was even more astonishing than any peerless Tao field in the immortal graveyard. The giant palace could be said to be the strongest environment. Su Yin had also obtained the strongest conditions for a breakthrough. He didn't even trigger the universe's heavenly punishment. Perhaps this was related to the profound yellow mark, or perhaps it was because he had been contaminated with the aura of the giant palace. In short, Su Yin had now rushed into the battlefield of supreme powerhouses. His blazing eyes emitted a resplendent luster. When he opened and closed them, the universe would flicker. His heavenly eye was too powerful. He could easily see billions of miles away. Ha ha! The old chief reared his head back and laughed. He was very clear just how powerful the giant palace's inheritance was. Since Su Yin had obtained it, then his path to invincibility could also be opened. The tribes could indeed feel proud because of Su Yin. Even now, the old chief could not forget the first time he discovered Su Yin. The shocking scene of Su Yin's birth was something he would never forget. This was the old chief's deepest secret. Good brat. The blacksmith was moved because the blood energy in Su Yin's body was too exuberant. It was like an inextinguishable immortal furnace. Back then in the desperate battle in the immortal graveyard, Su Yin had unlocked the body's most ancient potential and obtained the terrifying golden holy force. Although this strength had disappeared once again, Su Yin's body was also being reconstructed. It had become even more tyrannical and possessed an invincible strength. You finally come out. Iron Rooster was miserable. He had been suppressed by the Almighty who controlled the celestial domain alone. Now, he finally saw hope. This was especially true for the old chief. He had been injured during the revival of the two supreme treasures. Now that he was facing Zhu Tianba and the third son of primal chaos alone, the old chief could not endure for long. If Su Yin had not come out of seclusion, then the battlefield of the supreme experts would not have lasted for long before the stalemate was broken. Becoming an emperor in one battle? Wishful thinking. The third son of primal chaos was furious. He stared at Su Yin with sinister eyes and said coldly, "In the past, you relied on the taboo foundation to be invincible in the immortal graveyard. But you don't have this foundation anymore. You even paid with your life for it. The current you," the third son of primal chaos, clenched his fists and said coldly, "Although you've stepped into the realm of Almighty, you're delusional to think you can compete with the Almighty." Compete? Su Yin stood in the middle of the battlefield, his long black hair draped over his shoulders. He said coldly, "You're thinking too much. The first person I came here to kill is you." Arrogant. The third son of primal chaos aura skyrocketed. His entire body flowed with chaotic airflow. The ancient sound of the great Tao came from his body. His aura continued to grow stronger. His entire body was like a sea of chaos. He shouted angrily, "You think you can challenge us just because you killed a supreme almighty? Suyin, give me your life." In the past, these supreme almighties were really high and mighty in Su Yan's heart. But now, Su Yan was not afraid of battle. His entire body surged with the source of blood chi that blotted out the sky. The moment it surged, the void cracked. He was like a heaven-splitting overlord. His entire body was vast and mighty as he raised his fist and punched forward. The process was simple and domineering. There were no fancy moves. The third son of primal chaos was a supreme almighty. There was no need to talk about his combat strength. His entire body pierced through the chaos. He raised his giant hand and pressed down on Su Yan. One was Su Xianren, who had come back from the dead. The other was the supreme almighty of the Chaos Valley, the third son of primal chaos. The moment they clashed, killing intent surged like the sea and the primal chaos boiled. The bodies of the two great powerhouses flourished with divine light. The energy surging out of their bodies collided with a loud bang and destroyed this part of the starry sky. Boom! The great stars of the universe in the surrounding area were all shattered. At the moment of their collision, the energy field reached the pinnacle. Everyone was shocked. Su Xianren's might alone was not inferior to a supreme almighty. Even at the moment of their energy collision, he was actually not at a disadvantage. What was this? Su Yan, who had just stepped into the realm of supreme almighties, was actually able to clash head-on with a supreme almighty. If Su Yan also became a supreme almighty one day, then who in the world would be able to fight him? Kill! Su Yan roared. His aura swallowed the sea of stars and was boundlessly wild. He had completely let go of everything. His moves were grand and grand as he pressed forward to suppress. Suddenly, people discovered that the entire universe was being pushed by Su Yan. Su Yan could be said to be the emperor of men who could move the universe unhindered. The energy source surging out of his body resonated with the entire universe. The energy ripples were billions of times heavier as they bombarded forward. At this moment, people seriously suspected that Su Yan had moved the entire solar system and obtained an unimaginable source of energy. The moment he bombarded forward, the heavens exploded and the primal chaos collapsed. Oh my God! Everyone turned pale as they saw blood blossoming amidst the destruction. Someone had been injured. There was no need to doubt this at all. The third son of primal chaos was definitely injured. Su Yan was still so valiant in the collision of physical bodies. His flesh was burning like an indestructible immortal furnace, gushing with vigorous chi and blood that covered the shattered universe. Boom! When all of his energy surged toward the third son of primal chaos, the third son of primal chaos couldn't hold on any longer. He staggered back with blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. His powerful body was trembling slightly. The third son of primal chaos was astonished. Su Yan's body could already suppress a supreme existence at the divine king realm, let alone now that his body had been reconstructed amidst the destruction. He had absorbed the power of the 9 bamboo leaves and grown in the giant palace environment. Su Yan's body had not only broken through to the supreme realm, but when it was released to the extreme, his chi and blood were golden. This battle seemed to have returned to the era of the immortal graveyard. Without a doubt, Su Yan had grasped a portion of the ancient divine power in the human body, causing his combat strength to be peerlessly powerful. His successive fierce attacks overturned the universe and caused the sun and moon to sink. In the end, the third son of primal chaos was shaken by Su Yan until he coughed up blood. His body swayed, and he couldn't even stand steadily. A wild brat who just broke through to the supreme realm. Do you think I can't stop you? The third son of primal chaos roared angrily. He was truly angered. His swaying body surged out like lightning. Billions of strands of the great Tao of primal chaos were released, and the aura of a supreme existence was fully released. The entire world seemed to be suppressed and trembled in dimness. A supreme existence was almost invincible. They could easily gather the energy of the universe and awe the world. Now, under the pressure of the third sun of primal chaos, strongest energy, Su Yin seemed a little blurry. It was as if he was completely suppressed, and it was extremely difficult for him to unleash the strength of his strongest domain. "You're only SOSO." The third sun laughed angrily. He raised his large hand, gathered endless supreme energy, and attacked Su Yin. It was an almost destructive attack. The third sun channeled the strongest primal chaos power. His large hand swept across the sky and descended from the sky. The fluctuations it emitted were suffocating. "You want to be crowned emperor? That's impossible," Song Tian sneered. He saw Su Yan's embarrassed state. Did he think he was still in control of the forbidden energy? Now, he was a supreme existence against a supreme existence. The probability of him winning was too low. Now, the third son of primal chaos's large hand pressed down angrily. He launched a destructive attack on Su Yin, who was suppressed. Under the attention of countless people, the hearts of the heroes surged. Soon, the outcome would be revealed. Xiahou and the others were nervous. Whether or not they would be crowned emperor depended on the battle in front of them. Just as this palm was infinitely close to Su Yin, sure enough, he didn't disappoint. The silence was broken, and the suppressed shadow was revived. Billions of strands of great Tao light surged on his flesh shell, piercing through the primal chaos and illuminating the heavens. It was going to illuminate the river of time. Boom! A thunderous sound exploded. He was still so invincible and valiant. The sound of a cosmic tsunami burst forth. His fist was unparalleled, and his aura swallowed the sea of stars. The terrifying fist bombarded the primal chaos hand. It was as if it had pierced through the primal chaos sky, causing the primal chaos hand to collapse. Chapter 1249. The scene of blood splashing across the sky. This blood was also extremely special and powerful. It flowed with world-shocking power that crushed the void. Every drop of blood seemed to be able to crush a divine king. How could the title of absolute mighty be just for show? They were so powerful that their divine might was inviolable in their heyday. But now, this legendary absolute mighty was facing a world-shocking attack in front of Su Xianren. This heaven-reaching punch rippled with billions of strands of great Tao light. It was filled with the energy waves of the great Tao. It simply surged toward the peak of the great Tao. Crack! This punch shattered the chaos giant palm, causing the entire palm to collapse. Blood and broken bones scattered down, compressing the starry sky. The spectators were so shocked that they were speechless. All of them were dumbstruck. They had once deduced the outcome. No matter how heaven-defying Su Yin was, he was still only an almighty. Now he was fighting with an absolute almighty, and he had actually injured the absolute almighty. Who could believe what they were seeing? Su Yan's power had refreshed their understanding. He stood alone between heaven and earth, unparalleled in the world. Billions of strands of great Tao light gushed out of his pores and illuminated the universe. Heaven and earth before Su Yin blazed and surged. The great Tao of the universe resonated with it. It was hard to imagine what level Su Yin had deduced the great Tao to. He could easily defy the heavens and target the absolute mighty. Roar! The third son of chaos let out a shrill roar. His eyes were red. In a head-on confrontation, Su Yin didn't rely on any foundation, but he was able to fight to the death with him and even injure him. He couldn't bear such humiliation. His cracked hand burned his life essence. The absolute mighty's recovery ability was astonishing. The wound was healing, and the broken palm was about to be restored to its original state. But Su Yin didn't give him a chance. His fist mark blazed, and the light of the great Tao appeared. It was accompanied by a source of vitality that was rich enough to melt the universe. Kill! He roared. He stood at his peak state and activated his strongest absolute mighty's combat power. The aura that surged out of his body was unimaginably vast and majestic. It forcefully collapsed the peak of the sky. I don't believe that I can't stop you. Absolute powerhouses are already at the limit. The third son of chaos roared furiously. He didn't believe that he couldn't stop Su Yin, who had just broken through to become a mighty figure. He also released his strongest combat power and pounced forward. His palms surged with the power of a mighty figure as he clashed with Su Yin. It was an incomparably terrifying collision. The two powerhouses fought a bloody battle. Killing intent engulfed the heavens, and primal chaos pervaded the air. This was a collision of the great Tao. It could be said that two great cosmic furnaces had collided. Energy waves spread throughout the vast universe, and the aura emitted caused all living beings in the universe to tremble. It was extremely difficult for the people of the world to endure their killing intent. Many nearby cultivators retreated one after another. The impact of the collision between the two great experts was too shocking. However, this battle was outside of their expectations. Boom! Su Yan's glabella released a majestic soul fluctuation that pierced through the third child's forehead like a killing sword, causing his skull to crack. For a moment, the third son of chaos roared in pain. His spiritual sea was about to collapse. Buzz! His primordial spirit was also resurrected and released a shocking soul aura. However, Su Yan's primordial spirit cultivation was too strong. He had once devoured the white mist, causing his primordial spirit to be like a second Su Yan. It was extremely powerful and burned with a monstrous soul flame, causing the third son of chaos primordial spirit to show signs of exploding. I've had enough. No more. The terrifying battle of souls suppressed thousands of living beings until they crawled and trembled. The primordial spirits of many experts were about to evaporate. They were all shocked. Even Zhu Tianba and the others turned pale. How could Su Yin have such a strong soul aura? Even the primordial spirit of a mighty figure was suppressed. One had to know that the third son of chaos was an old monster who had cultivated for a long time. His primordial spirit was definitely stronger. If it was the suppression of his physical body and great Tao, they wouldn't be surprised. However, Su Yin wasn't an old monster. He was just a young man who had cultivated for less than 100 years. But why did he have such a strong soul power? In the face of this supreme suppression, the third son of chaos soul was stinging and his eyes were turning black. As soon as this state appeared, the third son of chaos was terrified. In a battle between experts, victory or defeat was decided in an instant. Now, his condition wasn't right. When he came to his senses in fear, he found that Su Yin had rushed in front of him. He raised a large hand and grabbed his arm. Roar! Su Yin roared angrily. His body was resurrected and terrifying. One of the strongest war immortals in the world went crazy and tore off the third son of chaos arm in an instant. This was a bloody scene. The arm of a mighty figure was torn off by Su Yin. The third son of chaos cried out miserably. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. His entire arm was torn off by Su Yin. Many people were scared silly. This was too domineering. In just a few rounds, Su Yin had used absolute soul suppression to cause the third son of chaos to lose his mind. Su Yin, who had conquered his entire life, decisively seized the opportunity to severely injure the third son of chaos, greatly damaging his aura. It wasn't difficult to heal a cracked palm, but to regrow a severed arm, it would definitely consume a lot of the mighty figure's vitality. In such a dangerous situation, the third son of chaos couldn't possibly waste his vitality to recover his severed arm. This was an extremely bloody scene. The third son of chaos roared angrily. His blood-stained body blazed to the extreme and surged with terrifying space-time fluctuations. It affected this shattered universe and put it in a state of stillness. Evil creature, I'm going to kill you. The third son of chaos' entire body surged with majestic space-time energy. In an instant, he appeared in front of Su Yin and said angrily, "Chaos space-time, I'm eternal. Kill." This attack was especially shocking. With the power of a mighty figure, it evolved into a supreme killing attack. This universe was in a state of absolute stillness. Everything was affected. Even Su Yan's movements slowed down. This was a supreme inheritance of the Valley of Chaos. Once it was activated, it could cause space-time to come to a standstill. There was an extremely powerful suppression of the Great Tao. In particular, when the third son of Chaos displayed it, it could even interfere with a mighty figure. However, Su Yan's eyes widened. He coldly shouted, "What dog fart, eternal? I'm the universe. Eternal space-time is nothing." The third son of Chaos roared in anger. Their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. This was a naked humiliation. He almost released the source energy of a mighty figure, causing the power of the Chaos space-time technique to skyrocket. The suppression caused this universe to dim and countless universes to shatter. However, just as this extremely powerful space-time energy was about to cover Su Yan, his aura suddenly surged violently with a loud rumble. A deafening chanting of scriptures was transmitted from within his body. It was as if a supreme god was sitting cross-legged within his body and chanting a supreme heavenly technique. The Origin Sutra erupted. The moment the strongest heavenly art of prehistory was revived, even this universe was awakened. It was an inconceivable scene. The vast universe rose and fell with Su Yan's breathing. The ancient universe began to revive. Along with Su Yan's aura, it was awakened. Awakened. All things were born. Heaven and earth repeated itself. Su Yan spread out his arms. His entire body was connected to the aura of the universe. He was ancient and majestic, his divine might unrivaled. What chaos space-time technique? It was directly crushed by the power of primordial. Even when the Origin Sutra was activated to a profound degree, the universe where all things were born was filled with a figure. It was as if a vague taboo was being unsealed. What was powerful? What was peerless? What was majestic? Now, Su Yan's state perfectly described all of this. The sun, moon, and stars revolved around his body, between his hair, between his palms. Everyone present was frightened. They were shaken from the depths of their souls. Was this the Origin Sutra? Was this the peerless heavenly art of prehistory? The strongest sutra that shook the black and yellow? He could actually revive the energy of the ancient universe. Along with the resonance of his body, it evolved into an even more profound world environment. Boom! Su Yan waved his hand. The giant handprint formed, seemed to cross the long river of time and space. In an instant, it bombarded the body of the third son of Chaos. The third son of Chaos coughed up blood. It was difficult for him to resist. He encountered the power of the ancient universe, the primordial attack of all things, and even Su Yan's strongest attack. Su Yan's aura became more and more terrifying. Just the energy source that gushed out from his body was extremely difficult for the third son of Chaos to bear. This was because he felt that Su Yan had turned into a magnificent universe. He could not be blasphemed or shaken. Origin Sutra, his voice was trembling. Was this the strongest heavenly art that shook the world in the past? It was not just a sutra. It also represented an extremely glorious orthodoxy. It was the peerless sutra of the ancient celestial court. The degree of cultivation depended on one's potential and comprehension. Su Yan returned with a rewarding trip to the giant palace. He found his own path. He could even see the majestic path to the heavens in the future. His entire person was blurry. It was as if he had become one with the universe. He released a supreme aura. This might was even more ferocious than a supreme powerhouse. Then, if the current Su Yan was not an emperor, what was he? Boom! Su Yan's giant hand came crashing down again. It was like a giant five-fingered mountain. No living thing in the world could escape from his palm. I refuse to accept this. The third son of Chaos roared. He was suppressed. This giant hand was about to grind his vitality. The third son of Chaos was trembling uncontrollably. He could not stop Su Yan at all, but he refused to accept this. He lost to the universe, not Su Yan. Bam! When this giant hand came crashing down, the third son of Chaos released the supreme origin power in his body. At this moment, the third son of Chaos was peerlessly terrifying. He pushed aside Su Yan's giant hand and released his strongest power to attack Su Yan. Boom! In an instant, Su Yan went berserk. He raised his fist and smashed it forward. It was as if a giant dragon was pressing down. It was filled with boundless power. This punch simply pierced through the entire solar system. No one in the world dared to call themselves supreme in front of him. Boom! The punch, which was bloody to the extreme, shattered the ultimate origin energy that filled the sky and pierced through the chest of the third son of chaos. Bam! Su Yan stepped forward and stepped on the remains of the third son of primal chaos body. His messy black hair fell down as he looked down at the third son of primal chaos and said coldly, "So much for a supreme almighty." Chapter 1250. This shocking scene stunned everyone in the world. The third son of the primal chaos was being trampled under Su Yan's foot, and his ruined body was being torn apart. One had to know that this was a peerless almighty of a generation. In the current universe, he was considered the most unrivaled giant. But now, Su Xianren had come back from the dead. His divine might was unrivaled as he suppressed a peerless almighty. This and defeat were two completely different matters. Suppressing a peerless almighty was too difficult. Moreover, the battle had only lasted until now, and Su Yan had already suppressed the third son of the primal chaos. This caused the atmosphere to explode to the extreme. This is a peerless almighty. Song Tian was trembling, and all the hair on his body stood on end. He couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. A peerless almighty had been suppressed. Su Yan was already unrivaled in the world. Even the first, second, third, fourth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth sons of the primal chaos valley had all fallen in Su Yan's hands. Apart from a sixth son of the primal chaos who had his head cut off by the taboo killing sword, the other 7 sons had all fallen in Su Yan's hands. Now, only the 5th son of the primal chaos was left in the primal chaos valley. This was a life-forbidden zone whose might shook the universe. The 9 sons were the masters, but the 9 sons had fallen one after another. A total of 8 had died in battle. This number made the old antiques tremble. A total of 8 sons had fallen. This matter was too frightening. When a legend continued, it was even more glorious than glory. For a moment, Su Yan's divine might rose to the extreme. He overlooked the entire battlefield, causing the experts of the 4 tribes to feel chills all over their bodies. The experts of each race fled in panic. They were scared out of their wits. A peerless almighty could be suppressed just like that. As long as Su Yan was still standing here, who could stop him? You want to leave now? But that's impossible. Xiao Ho's eyes emitted a cold aura as he shouted angrily. Those who offend my tribes will be killed no matter how far away they are. The loud and clear voice resounded between heaven and earth like the beating of a war drum. It shook the heaven and earth and exploded into the depths of everyone's soul. For a moment, people shouted and horses neighed. Killing intent surged. Brothers, kill for me. The blood-soaked and berserk soldier roared. He brandished his killing sword, releasing a vengeful anger as he roared. Don't let a single one escape. Kill them all. Kill. Those who offend my tribe will be punished no matter how far away they are. Yiling Tian let out a deafening roar that shook the heavens and the earth, giving the spectators goosebumps. Although he was far away, he must be killed. Could it be that he had to kill all the way to the top 4 clans and flatten their ancestral lands? Kill. Never lose a battle. Kill. Become an emperor in one battle. Kill. We must win this battle. Earth-shaking battle cries rang out, affecting the space-time. Swish, swish, swish. In the blood-stained Milky Way, a large number of soldiers rose up. They were so densely packed that they were uncountable. Their auras forcefully tore apart the dark red world, releasing a monstrous killing light. Thousands of soldiers and horses were galloping, their battle cries shaking the world. One by one, the war weapons recovered to their peak. They were going to fight a bloody battle in the heavens, kill all of their enemies, and attack all of the great clans. The world had changed. The Buried Regions clan was facing a counterattack. Boom! Even a corner of the universe was trembling. Billowing chi and blood rushed out, traversing the great universe. Thousands of soldiers and horses were roaring. The strongest elites of a clan were attacking in full force. No matter where they went, they could set off a storm of blood and sweep through any clan. They're going to counterattack. The old antiques of the various clans were shocked. Would they kill their way to their nest in one go? Although it sounded like a fantasy, the clans had Emperor Su, who had become an emperor in one battle, overseeing them. What couldn't they do? The clans are awakening. It's awakening. What a terrifying fighting spirit. The vast universe was suppressed by the rising power of the Buried Regions clan. The chi and blood of thousands of soldiers and horses mixed together at the peak of the universe, forming a sea of chi and blood, and then turned into a majestic lion. The ancient lion shook the world. It was completely revived, gathering the power of the clans, swallowing the sea of stars, and looking down on everything. This was the birth of a terrifying will, tempered by blood and fire. It was tough and unbreakable. As it spat, it made the experts of the 4 clans who were fleeing outside the realm tremble. Even the mighty ones were no exception. They were suppressed to the point of fear. Ancestors, do you see this? Our clans are standing up, standing up. There were also many old soldiers who were crying and roaring at the top of their lungs. This battle is a great victory. Our clan's young king has become an emperor in one battle. He is invincible in this world. After countless years of waiting, their clan finally welcomed a turning point. This battle was a great victory. The supreme experts were killed, and the armies of the 4 clans were routed and fled. So now, what could stop their footsteps? All the enemies were trembling, frightened by the battle cries coming from behind. The Buried Regions clan is going to rise. Su Xianren is invincible under the heavens, sweeping everything before him. The first time, he relied on external forces to break the taboo, but this time he relied on himself. The myriad sects were in an uproar. Many old sect masters cried out in alarm. This clan was glorious because of one person. They saw the emperor of a generation looking down on the universe. Even the 4 clans were routed. So what else in the universe could stop Su Yan's footsteps? Emperor Su is invincible. Some people lost control and roared. That's right. Su Yan was already invincible in the universe where the taboo didn't appear. His aura swallowed the entire universe. And who could fight him? I'm not convinced. The 3rd son of primal chaos was still roaring. He wasn't convinced at all and felt that Su Yan relied on the Origin Sutra. He didn't rely on himself at all. He had also witnessed the power of the Origin Sutra. It could even control the energy of the universe. This Origin Sutra was hailed as the most powerful heavenly art in the prehistoric era. It was truly a heaven-defying creation, and Su Yan had cultivated it to such a profound level. He had great hopes of becoming a taboo in the future, an old thing who has lived for countless years. If you didn't rely on the protection of the taboo, how could you have lived until now? Su Yan's words were like thunder, penetrating the 3rd son of primal chaos soul. That terrifying soul flame engulfed the 3rd son in despair. He couldn't endure Su Yan's soul energy because he felt that Su Yan's soul was about to penetrate the taboo domain. Boom! When Su Yan's primordial spirit revolved to the extreme, a golden figure appeared behind his head. It was as if it was standing at the end of the long river of time, looking down on the past. Bang! The 3rd son of primal chaos, soul, finally collapsed. He left in grief and indignation, but he couldn't live on. His soul had been shattered. Originally, the race of the buried realm was certain to be wiped out in this battle. But who would have thought that the dead Su Yan would come back to life and cause a ruckus, reversing the fate of the entire race? From now on, the race was bound to prosper. How could we lose? The battle hasn't reached the end. Our race still has a trump card to use. We can still reverse the situation. Zhu Tianba's expression was sinister as he roared mournfully. He saw the Ancestral Hall's army fleeing. What was this? The Ancestral Hall, known as the #1 race in the universe, was actually fleeing with an army under his command. This made Zhu Tianba furious. A single Su Yin was actually able to suppress a great sect. What a disgrace. If they were really defeated in this battle, they wouldn't be able to raise their heads in the universe. "Brat, help me!" Iron Rooster's screams rang out. His body was stained with blood and was in a miserable state. His feathers had almost all fallen off. There was no way around it. The Fontian diagram was too powerful. The Tao protector of the sealed heaven realm was suppressing Iron Rooster, causing his injuries to worsen. Boom! A resplendent light appeared and tore through the dark universe. Su Yan's battle strength erupted once again. At the moment of reassembly, his palms swept across the sky and pushed the energy of the ancient universe. This palm was peerlessly terrifying. It was an energy that even the most powerful experts would be apprehensive of. That was because Su Yin had gathered the energy of the entire solar system. His divine might was unparalleled as he struck out with his palm and struck the Fontian diagram directly. Even though it was a supreme treasure refined by a taboo, Su Yan's palm strength was enough to cause the diagram to rumble. Iron Rooster, who was suppressed within, fled through the cracks. You can even shake the Fontian diagram. The Tao protector of the sealed heaven realm had an ugly expression. This was a supreme treasure refined by a taboo. Even the most powerful experts couldn't easily shake it. But now Su Yin had done it. This caused his heart to palpitate. It's just a broken diagram. Back then, Big Brother had already damaged its vitality. How much power does this diagram still have? Su Yin sneered. In the current battlefield, among the 3 supreme treasures, the heaven refining cauldron, the immortal binding rope, and the heaven sealing diagram was the weakest. Although it had a supreme treasure protecting it, it was like adding wings to a tiger. However, the old chief and the blacksmith both wielded supreme treasures. Thus, they weren't affected by the heavenly refining cauldron and the immortal binding rope. It's enough to kill you all. The protector of the sealed heaven region was unwilling to give up. If he could restrain Su Yin, there might still be room for negotiation in this battle. However, things had already developed to this point. Once the 4 P clans were defeated, the consequences would be very serious. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. This was related to the fate of their races. Once the Buried Realm race won, then the 4 Peak races would lose all face. They might even face the danger of being counterattacked by the Buried Realm race. Thus, they wouldn't easily admit defeat in this battle, because if they lost, then in this cosmic environment, their race might very well face the possibility of losing everything. Boom! The Fontian diagram instantly revived, surging with billions of strands of immortal light. Although there was a gap between this and the peak state of the Fontian diagram, the Tao protector of the sealed heaven realm didn't believe that this diagram couldn't suppress Su Yin. Let's kill him together. Iron Rooster stood on Su Yan's shoulder. His blood-stained body was bathed in a silver divine light. His aura rapidly grew stronger. A supreme expert stood on Su Yan's shoulder, causing Su Yan's aura to soar. His powerful aura covered the heavens and earth, sweeping through the entire battlefield. Anyone could feel the pressure, but they still had hope in their hearts. Could Su Yin withstand the suppression of a supreme treasure? Even if the Fontian diagram didn't have the power of its peak state, this diagram was still a supreme treasure. I don't believe you can withstand my race's supreme treasure. The Tao protector of the sealed heaven realm roared and directly threw out the Fontian diagram. The ancient diagram rapidly enlarged. In an instant, it covered the sky and the sun, surging out with an extremely terrifying energy source. Suppress. The Tao protector of the sealed heaven realm roared and released his strongest power, activating the Fontian diagram. This diagram was enough to suppress millions of miles of rivers and mountains, suppressing an entire star field. The entire solar system was under the suppression of the Fontian diagram, dim without light. However, when a person revived, an emperor among men awakened, heaven and earth collapsed. Bang! Su Yan's black hair danced in the wind. His pupils surged with ferocious light. His fists suppressed the universe, and the leaking blood made the sea of stars tremble. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 12:51. What a domineering fist. It was as if it was the carrier of the universe's Tao. When it was released, the dim solar system was blazing. This ancient universe was on the verge of resurrection. A mighty divine aura swarmed towards Su Yin. At this moment, Su Yin was the ruler of the solar system. He was so powerful that the vast universe was undulating. Endless energy penetrated his combat power, giving Su Yin unparalleled combat power. Pervert, too perverted. Miser screamed. What did this guy go through to be able to erupt with such a strong combat power? It seems that the title of emperor in one battle is not empty words. Su Yin's body had a kind of aura. It was as if the magnificent universe was rotating. He had cultivated the body, like the universe, to the pinnacle level. At this moment, in the solar system, an incomparable divine aura was surging. He's even stronger. The onlookers trembled. They felt that Su Yin was stronger and more imposing than before. This meant that Su Yin had not fully adapted to his current abilities when he had just come out of seclusion. Now he had adapted. The initial scripture was operating to perfection, and he could control the power of heaven and earth at any time. Then, in this vast world, was there any opponent? Even the most powerful beings were killed by him. In this world, could Su Yin still find any opponent? Boom! Su Yin's fist smashed on the Fontian diagram. This huge diagram shook, as if it was about to be overturned by Su Yin. What was this? Su Yin was facing a supreme treasure. Of course, the Fontian diagram was mainly used for suppression and not killing. Otherwise, Su Yin would not be able to face this supreme treasure. Since it was mainly used for suppression, Su Yin could gather the power of the solar system to fight against the Fontian diagram. Boom, boom, boom. This was not one punch. Su Yin exploded with 9 punches in a row. The Fontian diagram was wailing continuously. It was really going to be sent flying. You can't send the Fontian diagram flying with brute force. The guardian of the Fontian domain roared angrily. Powerful energy surged from his body and penetrated the Fontian diagram. This ancient inheritance treasure glowed and emitted a terrifying immortal fluctuation. It contained the forbidden power of heaven. The Fontian diagram was simply burning. Its power skyrocketed and suddenly swept over. It was as if the 9 stars in the sky had sunk down. The heroes could not bear it and wanted to prostrate and tremble in front of the Fontian diagram. Who could compete with such a powerful, supreme treasure? However, Su Yin's aura was once again terrifying. His pair of fists pressured the entire universe and overflowed with the fluctuations of the universe. It was as if 2 universes were blooming, and a grand universe was being constructed in the initial state of all things. Su Yin let out a long roar. He was majestic as he attacked forward. His peerless fist light illuminated the dark universe, causing the entire solar system to shine brightly. The blacksmith was shocked and said, if he really can, the rise and fall of the Xianhuan universe in the future will be closely related to Su Yin. This is amazing. He is very likely to resist the dark disaster. The biggest disaster the universe had endured since ancient times was the dark disaster. If Su Yin could really resist it, then he was too important to the future universe. The blacksmith even vaguely saw a mark flash between Su Yin's eyebrows. It caused the universe's myriad Tao to resonate. It seemed to revive the power of the universe and gave Su Yin unparalleled combat power. This caused this punch to dominate the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Kill! Su Yin roared as he fought a bloody battle in the heavens. In the end, he blasted open the Fontian diagram with his peerless fist strength, causing the diagram to fly out. Along the way, it destroyed a sea of stars and crushed tens of thousands of stars in the universe. Oh my God! Everyone was stunned. The legendary supreme treasure, which even the mighty figures were afraid of, was sent flying by Su Yin. This was even more of a legend than a legend. When a legend became a reality, Sovereign Su Yan's might was vast and mighty. He was truly worthy of being the human sovereign. Even the Tao protectors of the sealed heaven region were terrified. The supreme treasure was sent flying by Su Yan. This battle was so shocking that they couldn't believe it. Where do you think you're going? The moment the Fontion diagram flew out, the guardians of the Fontion domain couldn't stand it anymore. They instantly retreated and fled the battlefield. Zhu Tianba and the others were completely defeated. The guardians of the Fontion domain were defeated by Su Yan and had to flee. What was this? Even the Fontion diagram couldn't stop Su Yan. However, Tai Rooster was faster. He had already spread his wings. The moment he soared into the sky, the giant silver wings emitted the sound of waves beating the shore and released a bloody light. It was as if two sword embryos were flying across the sky and splitting the universe. The attack was fast, accurate, and ruthless. The guardian of the Fontion domain felt a chill all over his body. He performed the Fontion impasse field and tried to stop Tai Rooster. However, Tai Rooster, who attacked from Su Yan's shoulder, was in his strongest state. The giant wings cut through the blockade and hit the guardian's body. Puff! He screamed and spat out a big mouthful of blood. His body caved in and was almost cut by Tai Rooster's wings. At the critical moment, he activated his battle armor to resist the danger of his body collapsing. Kill! At this moment, an even more violent aura surged. Su Yan had also made his move. His fist force locked on the guardian of the Fontion domain, and he wanted to kill him. However, the defeated guardian of the Fontion domain wasn't in the mood to continue fighting. It wasn't too difficult for him to escape. He did his best to revive the Supreme Expert's origin energy and evolve the Fontion impasse field layout to seal the space-time once again. Tai Rooster was sent flying. What a joke. The Supreme Expert had already released his strongest trump card. It would be extremely difficult to kill him now. However, Su Yan's fist arrived and swallowed the entire solar system. Tyrannical and unparalleled, this fist shattered the ages and pierced through the sea of stars. It hammered the domain formed by the Supreme Expert's origin energy and shattered it. Where do you think you're going? Su Yan was furious. Seeing the guardian of the Fontion domain still running away, he chased after him frantically. He didn't want to let any of them escape. However, just as Su Yan was about to catch up to him, the guardian of the Fontion domain directly merged with the Fontion diagram. His aura instantly became terrifying as his figure split open a space-time tunnel and entered it. The Supreme Expert was beaten into fleeing in panic. This battle shocked the world. Even a Supreme Expert protected by the Fontion diagram couldn't withstand Su Yan's supreme attack. Boom! Su Yan's aura swallowed the sea of stars. His disheveled hair fluttered in the wind. He once again operated the universe's initial fist and ruthlessly blasted it into the space-time crack. With his energy, he directly destroyed the entire space-time tunnel and blasted it into an extremely distant region. Bang! A huge explosion occurred in that area. Blood splashed out, accompanied by miserable screams. There was no doubt that the guardian of the Fontion domain had been injured by Su Yan once again. However, he had already fled far away. Even if Su Yan chased after him, he was confident that he could kill the guardian. But now, Su Yan wanted to kill Zhu Tianba and Yingji even more. Zhu Tianba, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you won't be able to escape from your clan. The old chief let out a furious roar. The tattered battle flag glowed as he tried to stop the fleeing Zhu Tianba. However, the heavenly refining cauldron was too powerful. In its heyday, this item was definitely one level stronger than the Fontion diagram. Buzz! The heavenly refining cauldron burned with immortal splendor and surged with immortal light. It directly shook off the power of the tattered battle flag. At this time, Zhu Tianba also entered the heavenly refining cauldron and broke through the universe's space-time. He had also escaped. The third son of primal chaos had fallen, and the guardian of the Fontion domain had fled. Now, only Zhu Tianba and Yingzhong were left on the battlefield. However, Su Yan's side had 4 supreme experts and even 2 supreme treasures. If they didn't leave now, their lives would remain here forever. The dark underworld race and the ancestral hall that had lost their supreme experts might be completely breached in the years to come. Injong was also scared out of his wits. Now, he was the only one left. If he didn't leave now, not even his bones would be left. His death would be even more miserable than the third son of primal chaos. The immortal binding rope surged with billions of strands of golden light. This rope was like a slumbering, forbidden true dragon that had come back to life. It immediately wrapped around the blacksmith's giant hammer. He wanted to seize this opportunity to escape. "Brat, if you run away, where will your grandpa blacksmith's face go?" The blacksmith said with a fierce expression. His giant black hammer was as large as the sky. The moment it came crashing down, the immortal binding rope couldn't get close to it. The blacksmith also mocked. "It's a waste for the immortal binding rope to be in your hands. This rope can even bind a taboo, but you can't even unleash a fraction of its power." "I hate it." Injong seemed to have lost his mind. The enemy he was facing was too strong. From beginning to end, the blacksmith hadn't been able to erupt with his strongest combat strength. Although the dark underworld race had obtained the immortal binding rope for a long time, it was still difficult for them to unleash its true power. They needed immortal energy to unravel the immortal binding rope's true form. The dark underworld race is finished. At this moment, the tide of the battle had turned. The tattered battle flag also flew over. Together with the giant hammer's energy resonance, it directly suppressed the immortal binding rope. The 4 supreme experts stood in 4 directions, glaring at Injong like tigers watching their prey. Injong was about to go crazy. This was a dead end. There was no way he could escape. No matter how powerful his magic power was, he couldn't kill his way out. Without the immortal binding rope, Injong was afraid that any one of them would have the ability to kill him. "Kill him. We still have important matters to attend to," the old leader coldly said. His words shook the hearts of the entire buried realm. They had to counterattack and kill their way to the ancestral hall and the dark underworld race. Even if they couldn't destroy these 2 peak orthodoxies, they had to make them suffer great losses. Kill. This was an extremely bloody scene. Bones and blood bloomed all over the sky. The battle came to an end. Inji faced the 4 supreme experts. He couldn't last more than 3 breaths of time before his entire body was torn apart. He didn't even have the chance to use his strongest technique before he was crushed into ashes by Su Yin and the old leader. "Ah, my race has a taboo background. If you dare to attack, none of you will live." Injong's final roar exploded. However, Su Yin directly replied, "Your race's taboo is sleeping in the corpse blood sea. The dark underworld race is nothing but an empty shell. I hate you." Injong left behind endless unwillingness. He was filled with hatred as he died. His body and soul were destroyed. Originally, they had a chance of winning this battle. There shouldn't have been any unforeseen events. However, Su Yan's resurrection had directly become an emperor in one battle. He wanted to become one of the strongest experts under the heavens. From now on, the human Emperor Su would stand at the peak, overlooking all sects under the heavens. He would become an emperor in one battle and rule the world. Chapter 12:52. Zhu Tianba and the protector of the sealed heaven region have escaped. 2 supreme beings have died in battle. The war had come to an end in less than a day. Originally, the 4 pinnacle tribes had joined forces to tear the entire burial realm to shreds within a day. However, the difference was too great. In less than a day, the 4 pinnacle tribes had suffered a crushing defeat. Now, the entire solar system was still in war in various major regions. Xiahou and the rest were leading various troops. They surrounded and hunted down the fleeing experts. Kill them all. The entire solar system was burning with the flames of war, burning a corner of the universe red. The supreme beings had suffered a crushing defeat. The experts of the 4 pinnacle tribes had lost their fighting spirit and fled in all directions. However, the This kind of disorganized escape only made their losses greater. In a vast solar system world, it had been sealed. Who could fight their way out of the encirclement? I won't thank you for your kindness. The old leader clenched his fists and looked at Iron Rooster and Blacksmith solemnly. If it weren't for the two supreme beings' help, the burial realm wouldn't have been able to hold on until Su Yan's resurrection. In this battle, they had played a huge role, giving the burial realm clan time to breathe. Otherwise, the burial realm clan would have suffered a crushing defeat. Uncle Blacksmith, I really didn't expect, Su Yan sighed. Blacksmith was a supreme being. It was really ridiculous. Back then, Su Yan was still a little cultivator in the Dowgate realm, and he came to the Zhang family village. He came to a peerlessly powerful village. Who would have thought that there was a terrifying village in an unknown wild forest on planet Alcade? There was a supreme being in charge. Even the old leader of the Zhang family village wasn't someone to be trifled with. Could he be a supreme being too? It was no wonder that their village could produce two people with the supreme physique and even the current Zhang Liang. With the protection of the broken emperor weapon, the Zhang family village's background was even greater. The era of origin was absolutely glorious. I didn't help much in this battle. Blacksmith was tall and muscular. He smiled and said, Su Yan, I really didn't expect that you would be able to grow to this level in just a few decades. You really surprised me. Su Yan's face was filled with shock. It won't be long before Zhang Liang becomes a mighty figure. Su Yan hurriedly said, Tensor is still in the abyss and has obtained a shocking fortune. I think he will come out in a few years. Oh, the blacksmith was visibly moved. As elders, they rarely asked about the young experts in the village. How far they could grow depended entirely on their luck and luck. Su Yan frowned and asked, Uncle Blacksmith, do you know that the young village is East Demon East? Hearing this, the blacksmith only smiled. His voice was loud and clear as he said, Let the younger generation do as they please. I've been out for a long time this time, so I'll take my leave first. The blacksmith left in a hurry. He came and left in a hurry. Su Yan was confused. Why was he in such a hurry to leave? Did he not want to talk about East Demon? And what was the purpose of the Zhang? Could it be that the Zhang family village was closely related to the Heavenly Mountain, one of the 9 great celestial mountains? He had some doubts in his heart. What was the purpose of a terrifying village to keep a low profile since ancient times? It was too low profile. Even the people in the outside world didn't know that there was such a terrifying force hidden in the universe. Uncle Su Yan, I'm leaving too. Niu Daesong was very reluctant. He waved at them and sat on Blacksmith's shoulder to return to the Zhang. Su Yan sighed. Back then, a child from the Ox family village was now outstanding and had an extraordinary appearance. In the future, he would have great achievements. He hoped that he would be worthy of his name in the future. Good treasure. At this time, Miser's eyes were shining. He looked at the immortal binding rope under the broken flag. The rope was flowing with golden light, as if it was woven with the tendons of a real dragon. It was filled with a vague, forbidden fluctuation. Boom! At this moment, a powerful airflow surged in the Milky Way that was burning with the flames of war. Oh! The old leader's eyes fell on Su Yan. His eyes were filled with gratification and expectation. He felt that he had been entrusted with a great responsibility. Su Yan's rise could take a lot of pressure off him. Now that the Zhongyu clan had 2 supreme powerhouses, who would dare to invade them? Not to mention that the 4 top clans had sent out 4 supreme powerhouses in this battle, but they still failed miserably and left 2 of their supreme powerhouses alive. Now, with the Zhongyu clan's foundation, most of the top clans in the entire universe were nothing. After all, the Zhongyu clan had Su Yan, an emperor in one battle. He would become an overlord in the world. It's Su Yan, the god of war. Earth was in an uproar. Too many natives were shouting excitedly. They had a supreme reverence for Su Yan. Some of the old people still remembered clearly that they had uncovered the mastermind behind the scenes, Zhu Yan, and killed him. Even later, when the foreign enemies invaded and almost destroyed Earth, Su Yan stood up and turned the tide, allowing Earth to enter a period of peaceful development. Although Su Yan had left Earth to train in the universe, his legend was still there. He was the pride of the entire Huaxiao Alliance, the spiritual leader. After that, the Huaxiao Alliance experienced many turbulence and setbacks. In their hearts, Su Yin was becoming more and more magnificent. Now, Su Yin was an emperor in one battle. He was invincible in their hearts, indestructible. Now, his aura filled the entire Milky Way. The moment he waved his hands, he forcefully pushed the vast field of the Milky Way. "Uncle is so powerful," the fat man's son shouted excitedly. His eyes were full of little stars of worship. He had heard of Su Yan's legend since he was young. Now that he had seen his divine might with his own eyes, it was truly outrageous. Lei Lao and the others felt that Su Yin had conquered the universe and become the master of the solar system. Now, with a wave of his hands, he pushed the field of the Milky Way, accompanied by a vast surge of energy essence. The Zhongyu clan is going to prosper. The foreign spectators were in a complicated mood. Human Emperor Su's might had shaken the world. Moreover, he was a grandmaster who was about to step into the 8th grade. In the battle of the Milky Way, too many powerful experts had fallen. 2 of the most powerful experts had died. This had caused the entire Milky Way to be filled with the life matter of the powerful experts. Now, all of it had been forcefully pushed away by Su Yin. Reunite. This massive amount of powerful life matter was about to disperse and nourish the solar system. Now it was being forcefully pushed by Su Yin. Billions of strands of life matter gathered toward the posterior progenitor. This massive amount of life matter was too important to the posterior progenitor. It was also extremely important to the inhabitants of the posterior progenitor. Good. Yi Lingtian laughed excitedly. This method was truly earth-shattering. It was hard to imagine how much help the Zhongyu clan would have to the Zhongyu clan. Now, under the cleansing of the massive amount of life essence, countless seriously injured cultivators recovered in a short span of a few dozen breaths. A large number of inhabitants even advanced by leaps and bounds because they bathed in the life essence. Of course, with the current state of the inhabitants of Earth, it was extremely difficult to digest all this energy in one go. However, Su Yan's method was heaven-defying. He had sealed most of the life essence in the Milky Way's field. Within 3 years, this energy would nourish the entire posterior progenitor. Then, in these 3 years, the combat strength of the Zhongyu clan would definitely soar by a large margin. In this era where everyone benefited, the warriors who fought in the outer realms laughed heartily, their eyes brimming with tears. We've won. They had won. They had crushed the spiritual will of the 4 peak races. This was a glorious battle. This battle was of great significance. In the current environment of a universe, an invincible race had been born. It's good to be alive. Su Yin also laughed. He had a wish in his heart. This battle wasn't as simple as a victory. They had also fought for the dignity of their race. If the heroic spirits that had been slumbering in the earth knew of this, they would be able to rest in peace. The Zhongyu clan that had always been suppressed by the ancestral hall had risen. This was of great significance. Everyone was overwhelmed with emotions. Their race had finally ushered in the dawn. Pung! Suddenly, the immortal binding rope violently struggled. Tai Rooster tried to grab it, but this rope was sentient. It surged with terrifying fluctuations, as if a true dragon had been resurrected. It emitted astonishing fluctuations. Moreover, a massive figure rushed out from the immortal binding rope. It seemed as if it would fill the entire solar system in an instant. At the same time, this was accompanied by a forbidden fluctuation. This caused Tai Rooster to scream. Even his soul was trembling. He was about to be crushed by the forbidden primordial spirit. Forbidden primordial spirit imprint. Su Yan's expression was cold. A terrifying spiritual flame ignited between his eyebrows. In an instant, it lit up the entire universe with resplendent light. Wang. The moment his primordial spirit left his body, a golden figure filled the long river of time. It stood in the future and emitted a terrifying power. What a powerful primordial spirit! The old chief was moved. What substance had Su Yan's primordial spirit fused with? It was infinitely close to the forbidden domain. It had already surpassed the ranks of supreme experts. The reason why Su Yan could quickly finish off the third son of primordial chaos was also because of his primordial spirit cultivation. It was truly terrifying. Su Yan's primordial spirit transformation was closely related to the white mist. Even now, Su Yan hadn't completely devoured the white mist. One had to admit that the substance was truly astonishing. His primordial spirit erupted in an instant. A dragon raging in the wilderness crashed into the immortal binding ropes, forbidden primordial spirit imprint. Bam! The entire area collapsed. The moment the two terrifying primordial spirit fluctuations collided, the universe erupted. A huge black crack appeared between heaven and earth. The affected heaven and earth underwent a huge change. It was about to completely collapse. The heroes watching the battle trembled. Even the divine king couldn't withstand it and began to tremble. Their souls were about to evaporate. What a terrifying aura. It's coming again. The universe was vast, and the starry sky was immeasurable. In the distant realm, the myriad races wanted to know the outcome of the Milky Way galaxy's war immediately. They even wanted to witness it with their own eyes. However, the distance was long, and it was extremely difficult for them to rush over. The region they were in was extremely far away from the solar system, but now the star region they were in was shaking. They were shocked by the world-destroying soul fluctuations from the solar system. The war seemed to have ended. Why is it here again? What a terrifying aura. The buried realm race most likely has a trump card. We can still capture the energy fluctuations from the Milky Way galaxy, even though it's so far away. What level has this battle progressed to? The heroes were shocked. Looking at the solar system at the end of time and space, they could vaguely see that the magnificent solar system was about to collapse. Then, how powerful was this battle? Could it sink the entire star region? The buried realm race is about to be destroyed. Looks like we're going to be destroyed. Then, the secret of our clan will forever remain a top secret. Far away in the Cosmos Business Alliance, the Purple Jade King lived like a prince. His cultivation had also stepped into the heavenly god realm. Although he couldn't be compared to the influential figures in the universe, he was the successor of the Cosmos Business Alliance. He had a huge amount of wealth in his hands. That's right, the buried realm race is about to collapse. The bloodline of Z Xioning, who had always been against you, will naturally be defeated. The Z family will be unified. Now, my lord, you can rest assured. The group of old servants under the Purple Jade King were all smiles. Once the buried realm race was destroyed, their Cosmos Business Alliance would have one less worry. The Purple Jade King smiled and said, "This is worth celebrating. From now on, my Cosmos Business Alliance will have all the big and small branches. All of them will have special promotions." "Yes, my lord." The group of old servants hurriedly nodded. This matter was indeed worth celebrating. From now on, the world would never know that the Cosmos Business Alliance once belonged to the buried realm race. Even in the conflicts between the races, the Purple Jade King's bloodline won. This was of great significance. There's more. At this time, the Purple Jade King's face turned cold. He said, "That bitch Z Xioning has been in the family for so many years. Don't tell me there's still no clue." Thinking of Z Xioning's hot body, the Purple Jade King's heart was filled with lust. It was difficult to control. Z Xioning had disappeared for many years. It was as if she had completely evaporated from the universe. There was no trace of her at all. After all, Z Xioning was protected by a group of strong people in Hokuto. It wouldn't be easy for the Cosmos Business Alliance to find her. Seeing the group of servants shaking their heads, the Purple Jade King angrily said, "What are you waiting for? Go and find her now. Who in the family dares to say anything about me? In the future, the entire Cosmos Business Alliance will be mine, including Z Xioning." At this time, an old servant hurriedly walked up and laughed sinisterly. "My lord, I have something to report to you. Their bloodlines, Z Xioning, used a large amount of money to support Z Xioning. I reckon that Xioning is secretly operating businesses. We can start with the newly opened Chamber of Commerce in recent years. Zihong, this old bastard, opposed me quite a bit all those years ago, and the reason I didn't obtain Xioning early on was all because of this old bastard's interference. Haha, since our bloodline has one now, what kind of storm can he, Zihong, stir up? Wait until I inherit the position of patriarch in the future, then watch how I deal with this old bastard. The Purple Jade King laughed sinisterly. Xioning leaving the family must have received Zihong's secret support. This news is very important. We'll do as you say and investigate it immediately. Investigate it thoroughly for me. When the time comes, report to the family and say that Zihong secretly transferred our family's wealth. I'll see how he dies. My lord is wise. We'll investigate it right away. The group of servants left excitedly. The Purple Jade King also laughed, secretly praising himself for being wise. He lay on the rattan chair and drank a cup of wine. He looked forward to his future life of luxury and sneered. So what if he's the invincible Su Xianren? What did he enjoy? A jar of my wine is worth thousands of chaos treasures. I'm afraid he hasn't tasted it before. De Zhang, I have something important to attend to tonight. This chapter will be updated in advance. Everyone, smoke a cigarette to calm down. Chapter 1253. The energy fluctuations coming from the Burial Realm race's territory should belong to a battle at the primordial spirit level. An old antique said in a low voice, the supreme experts should be fighting to the death. I didn't expect the Burial Realm race to have such a background. I really don't know what level the Burial Realm race's bloody battle has developed to. After all, the four peak races had sent out 4 supreme experts to give the other party a chance to fight to the death. This proved that the Burial Realm race's foundation couldn't be underestimated. It was just that they didn't know how far the battle had progressed. The 4 peak races were surrounding the Burial Realm race. It could be said that the entire universe was paying attention. If they weren't too far away, large numbers of experts would have gone to watch the battle. Boom! The entire solar system flickered. It trembled violently and was on the verge of collapse. The spectators were scared out of their wits. Their legs went soft, and they felt that the entire solar system was about to evaporate. Countless cultivators were about to die. Kill! The golden primordial spirit roared and erupted with supreme battle strength. His battle strength caused the universe to boil. He attacked thousands of times and erupted with the wildest primordial spirit battle strength. Moreover, he pushed the power of the entire solar system to destroy the forbidden primordial spirit imprint. Boom! Finally, Su Yan's primordial spirit broke apart to the extreme. It forcibly collapsed the sky, full of bloody light, and shattered the forbidden primordial spirit imprint. Su Yan stood tall in the starry sky. His head of black hair danced in the wind. He was so powerful that it was suffocating. Even the forbidden primordial spirit imprint could be destroyed by his peerless battle strength. His clothes exploded, revealing his sturdy body. Terrifying fluctuations spread out in all directions, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. A human emperor stood tall in the solar system. He emitted a radiance that illuminated the entire space and time. All matter became dim and lightless. He was here overlooking all living things. Pervert, too perverted. The miser was speechless. He was so scared that his feathers were about to fall off. He stood on Su Yan's shoulder and was able to see the power that surged out from Su Yan's body at a close distance. How great was the power that surged out from Su Yan's body? Of course, Su Yan also paid a certain price. His primordial spirit was greatly damaged. He was astonished because the forbidden primordial spirit was too powerful. Just by relying on the primordial spirit imprint left behind by the forbidden primordial spirit, Su Yan's primordial spirit could barely withstand it. It had to be said that this domain was filled with dreamy colors. If one couldn't compete with it, they would never know how powerful the word forbidden primordial spirit was. Moreover, if it wasn't for the mutation of his essence spirit, it would be impossible for him to resist the forbidden essence spirit imprint. But now, The imprint of the immortal binding rope had been erased by Su Yin. Good, good. The immortals, primordial spirits, primordial spirits, primordial spirit immortals, primordial spirit, immortal, 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 as primordial spirit imprint, to become its master. Su Yan's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and grabbed the immortal binding rope. The moment he held it, Su Yan's battle aura surged. The heavens trembled, and the universe's great Tao wailed. He was already strong enough. Now that Su Yan was controlling it, his aura was even more perverse and maddening. Without a doubt, the immortal's binding rope was too strong. Now that Su Yan was controlling it, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Ha! Immortal's binding rope. What a great immortal's binding rope. Su Yan laughed. With the immortal's binding rope in hand, he dared to go anywhere he wanted. Strike while the iron is hot. The immortal's eyes also shot out cold light. His aura spread throughout the solar system as he shouted, "You all stay behind and guard the immortal's binding tribe. I'll go out with Su Yan." As soon as his voice fell, the immortal's war flag waved. The flag soared into the sky, and a fierce, murderous aura surged in the starry sky. The murderous aura spread, burning the entire tribe. The four pinnacle tribes had almost destroyed their tribe. How could the immortal's leader let it go? We also want to go Xiaoho. They had lost control of their emotions. Finally, this day had arrived. Finally, the day they had to counterattack. However, they also wanted to participate in the battle and tear apart their ancestral land. They wanted to let them know how much pain and sorrow the immortal's binding tribe had endured throughout the eras. Roar! Some of the old experts roared. Their eyes were blood red, and their chests were heaving up and down. They wanted to follow the immortal's leader into battle, to kill, and to take revenge. The immortal's leader understood their feelings. Although they had won this battle, they couldn't be blinded by it. The immortal's binding tribe had suffered great losses in this battle. One of their powerful beings had died in battle. The tribe needed more experts to defend. It was even more dangerous to attack the Dark Nether tribe and the Ancestral Hall. They might even have a trump card that could threaten the powerful beings. If they couldn't even take care of themselves, then their losses would be great. They couldn't squander all the wealth they had accumulated with great difficulty in this battle. How many treasures will we get from defeating the pinnacle tribes? Miser was restless. He couldn't wait to kill his way in and seize the opportunity to attack the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether tribe. It won't be easy to attack by force. The old leader said coldly, "Su Yin, go and attack the Ancestral Hall. I'll leave the most difficult bone to chew to you. I'll make a trip to the Dark Nether clan. We'll set off now. Don't give them any time to catch their breath. Let's go." Su Yan's black hair draped over his shoulders. Miser stood on his shoulder. The two of them used their physical bodies to break open the space-time tunnel. They charged into it and began to travel toward the Ancestral Hall. "Let me do it. Although you're fast, how can you compare to me?" Miser's aura surged. The little silver chick expanded 1,000,000 times. His body covered the entire sea of stars. It was difficult to see his full appearance. He was full of terrifying power. His giant wings were like clouds in the sky. With a rumble, he opened the space-time tunnel. Carrying Su Yin, he charged forward and disappeared into the depths of the universe. A giant creature was traveling through the sea of stars. One could see his shadow from afar. Some of the battleships looked very small. "Don't tell me you're really a true phoenix?" Su Yin asked. The first time he saw Miser, he knew that his origin was extraordinary. Even after that, Su Yin had a huge secret in the Yin-Yang River. Since Miser could intercept the fortune, it was enough to show that his origin was very shocking. One had to know that the Yin-Yang Road was even more terrifying than a taboo in Su Yan's heart. It was an extremely hidden force in the universe. Even the Yin-Yang Road targeted the prehistoric Big Brother when he attacked. Then what kind of force dared to target a taboo? It was hard to imagine how deep the waters of the Yin-Yang Road were. Hearing this, Miser was silent for a while. After a long time, he said, "Do you believe in reincarnation in this world?" "Reincarnation?" Su Yan's eyes widened. He said in surprise, "Don't tell me you're a reincarnated being?" But it's true. You were able to become a supreme expert in just a few decades. I believe you're reincarnating. Suyan's heart was surging. Who would dare to believe in reincarnation? After a person died, their body and soul would be destroyed. Then, how could they survive and reincarnate? It sounded like a fantasy story, but a living example happened beside Suyan. The miser was a reincarnated creature. It was hard to believe. How'd he do it? Suyan even felt that the prehistoric Big Brother was also reincarnating. Actually, I don't know if I'm reincarnating. Miser smiled bitterly. Originally, I was a divine guardian beast of the Taoist temple. Very few people knew of my existence. Do you know that the Big Dipper collapsed in the last universe era? Hearing this, Suyan's pupils constricted. How could he not remember this? Even the large and small races in the universe knew about it. Back then, the famous Hokuto in the universe was unable to recover because of this setback. The collapse of the Big Dipper caused Hokuto to lose its proud foundation and become a second-rate power. Now, the old master of the stars had stepped into the supreme realm, but Hokuto still didn't have the qualifications to become a peak race. You know what happened? Suyan was surprised. Even the old master of the stars didn't know about this, but Miser knew. Could he be involved? I once followed the Taoist temple's taboo to investigate. Miser recalled and felt his hair stand on end. Do you dare believe it? Back then, I was a supreme expert, but I died in a daze and survived in a daze. In the end, I saw you. Suyan was tongue-tied. Miser had reincarnated so ridiculously. Actually, Miser had always felt that there was a problem with his memory. There was a gap, and he had forgotten important things. Even his miraculous reincarnation was closely related to the Yin-Yang River. Yin-Yang River, Yin-Yang Road. What kind of power are they? Do they control reincarnation? Suyan was shocked. Miser was a supreme expert in the past, but he had forgotten the most important memory. One had to know that he had come together with the taboo. Suyan, you must be careful in the future. The calamity of our universe is most likely related to the Yin-Yang Road, Iron Rooster said in a heavy tone. This organization is too well hidden, and it's difficult to find them. However, I don't believe that this organization will remain hidden forever. Sooner or later, they will surface. Perhaps when the era of the universe's seal ends, they will come out. Suyan's heart was heavy. The Celestial Court's army had left their homeland for war. In the end, the universe suffered a calamity and was invaded by darkness. The world's experts withered and entered a tragic era of foreign invasion. These were volumes of ancient history, heavy and weighty. Ever since the Celestial Court's army left their homeland, the universe had undergone great changes. Then, where was the darkness? Why did it disappear? The universe being sealed was related to foreign enemies and not the darkness. But a few years ago, the darkness came again. The universe fell into darkness for a short period of time, and one couldn't even see their own fingers. This meant that the darkness hadn't dispersed and would return sooner or later. But now, Miser speculated that the darkness calamity should be closely related to the Yin-Yang Road. Perhaps he could find out the cause of the darkness by digging out the Yin-Yang Road. Was it really unrelated to him? Of course it was. Moreover, it was closely related. Back then, Suyan had stolen the fortunes of the Yin-Yang Road. If the day came when darkness covered the sun, would the universe be able to withstand the calamity? Suyan's breathing was heavy. He had already cultivated to the supreme expert level and felt more and more danger. Then he pulled himself together and said in a heavy voice, "It's too early to talk about this if we don't deal with the Ancestral Hall and the other races." His eyes shone with killing intent. He was prepared to visit God Burial Mountain again to see if he could take out the 6 supreme treasures. That way, the buried realm race's foundation would be peerless. Boom! Miser crossed the universe's sea of stars. He flapped his wings and stirred up gales. Many stars were trembling. What a terrifying existence. Soon, they arrived at the edge of the universe's cultivation world. Many of the strongest experts from the ancient life stars trembled and cried out involuntarily, the aura of a supreme expert. Has the war with the buried realm race ended? It hasn't even been a day. Has the race been destroyed? When Su Yin heard these words, his eyes were filled with coldness. The killing intent in his heart grew stronger. Then I'll destroy the entire ancestral hall and tell the world that my race is fine. Su Yan's eyes shone with an ominous light. He wanted to start a massacre. It would be best if he could destroy the entire ancestral hall. As long as the race didn't have any taboos, Su Yin, who had the immortal binding rope, was confident that he could destroy the entire ancestral hall. Chapter 1254. The miser spread his wings and traversed the universe. The enormous life aura gradually disappeared. He's gone. What a terrifying aura. So this is a supreme expert. Many experts gasped for breath. Soon after, they realized that their backs were drenched in cold sweat. They couldn't help but murmur, "A supreme expert is really too strong." Back then, Su Xianren killed the second son of primal chaos in the immortal graveyard. He was really too terrifying back then. There were many discussions between heaven and earth. How could they not know who Su Xianren was? He was an invincible overlord who had crossed 2 realms in the immortal graveyard. Now, he had fallen in glory and passed away in a Tao temple. As for his clan, the Zhongyu clan, they were naturally famous. But now, the 4 great clans had joined forces to attack the Zhongyu clan, causing a huge commotion in the world of cultivation. This was something that all the cultivators in the world were paying attention to. But now, a supreme expert had passed through the sky. His remaining aura was suffocating them. Perhaps it's really over. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Someone sighed and said, Su Yin, the invincible overlord of the present age, fell too early. Sigh, if Su Yin was still alive in this battle, the result wouldn't be like this. Yes, the world shaking Su Xianren. Sigh, what a pity. Many people felt sorry for him. It wasn't worth it. But Su Yin had fallen in glory and won their reverence. After all, he had been invincible for a period of time. Although it was short, it had led to a terrifying influence. Several days have passed. I wonder how the situation in the Milky Way is now. Calculating the distance to the Milky Way, I reckon the 4 clans of the Ancestral Hall have already made their move. All the peak clans were paying close attention to this matter. Whether or not an ancient power would come to an end would depend on the news from the depths of the universe. Especially in the primal chaos ruins, the tremors were even more intense. After all, this was the place where Su Yin rose to power. There were too many legendary stories left behind. All the major clans. There were also people who were happy and people who were worried. In short, there were all kinds of emotions in life. Many people were watching this battle with the mentality of watching a good show. Unfortunately, the distance was too far. Just a trip would cost a huge amount of resources. Is the first boss of the new era crazy? News came that made people speechless. What kind of relationship does he have with Su Yin? Isn't this too crazy? Oh, what happened? Many people were puzzled. This news spread in the city of the Great Tao and soon caused quite a commotion. The cultivators of various forces were all dumbfounded. They really felt that the first boss of the new era was crazy. Almighty Uncle Kong was very dissatisfied with the title of the first boss of the new era. He always felt that the word old didn't suit his temperament. After all, he had stepped into the mighty figure realm and was dozens of years younger. He wore a golden battle suit and looked valiant. He carried a sword embryo on his back and was full of vigor. Many girls were attracted to him. Those who didn't know would think that the invincible Su Xianren, who had crossed 2 major realms in the immortal graveyard, had returned. King Kampa was very showy, but his actions won the admiration of many. Ever since the experts of the Sealed Heaven region arrived, Uncle Kong had massacred dozens of resource secret realms in the Sealed Heaven region. It could be said that this battle shocked the world. Some people thought that he was crazy, and some thought that his relationship with Su Yin was not small. Junior brother, do you see this? In a realm where blood flowed like a river, a large pile of yellow paper was burning. There were even a large number of beautiful women and treasures made of paper. Uncle Kong saw this and suddenly sighed. I don't dare to go to the Buried Heaven region. There are 4 F*** King great figures there. How can I move them with my little arms? I'll only be sending myself to death if I go. Junior brother definitely doesn't want to see two of big brother's outstanding disciples die in battle, right? Uncle Kong hugged a bloodstained sword embryo with both hands. He had massacred dozens of resource secret realms in the sealed heaven region and worshipped Su Yin. He looked sad and said with a smile, "Don't worry, senior brother will burn more beautiful women for you every year." If Su Yin knew that Uncle Kong was burning paper for Su Yin here and even worshipping him in the resource secret realms in the sealed heaven region, who knew what Su Yin would think? In short, Uncle Kong was very bold, and he continued to attack the resource secret realms in the sealed heaven region. It could be considered as a psychological explanation for himself. Yes, he didn't dare to go to the buried heaven region because he was afraid of death. He wanted to live because he felt that he still had hope of becoming a great figure. In short, if he lived, he could do something for Su Yin. In fact, the reason why Uncle Kong did this was because of Big Brother Prehistoric. If it wasn't for Big Brother Prehistoric, he would still be a Tao Temple steward, and the path to becoming a great figure was simply out of reach. Now that he had become the first great figure of a new era, his influence could be said to be huge, and he had become a peak figure in the universe. The turning of fate was related to Su Yin. However, Su Yin had fallen, and now Uncle Kong wanted to do something. He was alone anyway, and he wasn't afraid of the sealed heaven region's revenge. The universe was vast, and even if a great figure had the means to go through heaven and earth, it was impossible to go anywhere in the universe at will. Although the war in the Milky Way had ended, the news wouldn't spread so quickly. In the eyes of the world, Su Yin was still a person who had passed away. Buzz, Iron Rooster's speed didn't decrease, and he kept crossing at high speed. In the process of rushing, his injuries were almost healed. On the way, Su Yin asked about Zixia Fairy's identity. "She's a woman," Iron Rooster couldn't say, and whispered, "Her origin is not simple. It's very likely that she's closely related to the Tao Temple's taboo." "Taboo?" Su Yin was surprised and said, "You should know who the Tao Temple's taboo is. Back then, when she was in the Hall of Earth, how did she break through the taboo? And was the Tao Temple founded by her?" Hearing this, Iron Rooster smiled bitterly. "Because of reincarnation, I've forgotten a lot of things. However, with your current status, you can still go to the Tao Temple. Maybe you can meet the taboo." However, Iron Rooster frowned and said, "The purple bamboo forest suddenly closed, and I'm a little uneasy. You should know that the Tao Temple's taboo broke through in this universe, and its strength is unpredictable. What happened to make the purple bamboo forest close? I'm a little uneasy. The taboo can also encounter something big." Su Yin clenched his fist and said, "After dealing with the tribes in the Ancestral Hall, I'll definitely go to the Tao Temple." In fact, what Su Yin wanted to know the most was not the Tao Temple's taboo, nor the origin of Zixia Fairy, but what kind of treasure was the Chaos Tower. Su Yin always felt that the Chaos Tower was closely related to the universe. Su Yin pondered for a moment before his gaze was attracted by the dazzling and colorful scenery in the vast sea of stars. For others, the universe was cold, but for Su Yin, there was life in the universe. He could feel the existence of the universe, and he could feel it aging. The process was slow, but it would not take many years for the universe to age to the extreme. Incomplete. As he looked, Su Yan's mind wandered. His primordial spirit's power instantly covered the vast universe, as if he saw a broken universe. Although it had life, it was difficult for the universe's life to reunite. Su Yan observed for a long time. He was a little dizzy, and his eyes were a little dark. He quickly cut off the connection and said in a deep voice, "Maybe there's still hope to reunite, but I can't do it." "What are you talking about?" Miserly Rooster was stunned. He was rushing with all his might, hoping to kill his way into the Ancestral Hall before the Ancestral Hall's defenses were lowered. Su Yin fell silent. He opened his hand, and there was a spatial ring in his palm. Su Yin opened the spatial ring of the Han family's patriarch. Indeed, he saw a huge amount of resources, all of which were the best. With Su Yan's divine will, he could search the entire spatial ring in a short time. More than 18,000 heavenly deity weapons, 1,061 deity king weapons, and 4 almighty saint weapons. Su Yan's breathing was heavy. Even someone as strong as him was envious. This should be the Han family's strongest treasure trove. It had always been controlled by the Han family's patriarch, and there were even more than 100 Khanate treasures nurtured by heaven and earth. This huge amount of wealth was enough to equip an army, and there were all kinds of limited resources from the primordial realm to the divine king realm. There were even more than 30 divine medicines. What was wealth? This was wealth. This amount of resources could allow the Han family to rebuild its foundation, but this clan had been completely destroyed. Su Yan was shocked. Of course, the most important thing was the 8th grade mystic chapter. A smile slowly appeared on Su Yan's face. He saw a piece of black, or a stone of the same grade as the topography chapter's inheritance. Although he did not know what this stone was, it contained the supreme orthodoxy of the mystic sect. I can reach the 8th grade mystic sect's Grandmaster realm at any time. Now that I have the cultivation method, success will come naturally. This path was close, very close. After all, Su Yan already had the combat strength of the universe's limit. It would not be difficult for him to become an 8th grade mystic sect's Grandmaster. Su Yan took out the 2 stones at the same time and opened the topography chapter and heavenly momentum chapter's inheritance. The 2 chapters burned at the same time. Su Yan's primordial spirit penetrated into them and spied on the profound meaning of the 2 chapters. In a short period of time, his harvest was huge. The 8th grade referred to setting up a domain in the universe and preaching the Tao with the starry sky. It was enough to trap a mighty person. After observing for a long time, Su Yan was surprised. It seems that the Han family's ancestors did not cultivate to the peak of the 8th grade realm. What they lack is the topography chapter's inheritance. The peak of the 8th grade realm, the fusion of heaven and earth, the strongest mystic sect's great Tao. Carefully savoring it, the topography chapter and heavenly momentum chapter were broad and profound. The 2 chapters were studied together, corroborating and combining with each other. His mystic sect's methods sublimated imperceptibly and merged with heaven and earth. Now that he was evolving the mystic sect's secret technique, he was like a fish in water. The Grandmaster realm, controlling heaven and earth, grasping the universe's momentum. Su Yan secretly said in his heart, but it is very difficult to cultivate the mystic chapter to the peak of the 8th grade. It is extremely difficult for me to do it now. Su Yan. At this time, the miser smiled sinisterly. We have come to the Ziwei city of the Ziwei segmentum. Hearing this, Su Yan's eyes lit up. He still remembered that when he came here years ago, he was still a small cultivator in the transcendence realm. Su Yan's gaze pierced through the universe's space-time. Far away, he saw a huge city floating between heaven and earth. It was Ziwei City. It's so lively. Su Yan's expression was slightly cold. He saw that in Ziwei City, the territory of the Cosmos Business Alliance was decorated with lanterns and streamers, as if they were celebrating something. The Cosmos Business Alliance had a rare discount, and the threshold was almost broken. The number of cultivators who came to trade all kinds of treasures was very difficult to count. In an instant, Su Yan thought a lot of things. The Cosmos Business Alliance belonged to the Burial Region clan. However, ever since the Burial Region clan declined, the Cosmos Business Alliance had drawn a clear line with the Burial Region clan and no longer had any dealings with them. However, this clan did not come in vain. They had targeted him time and time again, and because of the broken cauldron, they had pursued him many times. This was a thorn in Su Yan's heart. So now they were celebrating. Then what were they celebrating? Su Yan's face was as cold as water. He said coldly, "Let's go down and take a look. It won't take long." Okay. The miser screamed excitedly. His huge figure suddenly turned around and rushed toward the Ziwei city of the Ziwei segmentum. There's more tonight. Chapter 1255. The Ziwei sect of the Ziwei segmentum was one of the top sects in the universe. Although there was a big gap between them and clans like the Ancestral Hall, This force had been prosperous since ancient times. They only recruited female disciples and had a high status in the universe. Ziwei City was the most powerful ancient city in the Ziwei segmentum. It floated in the sky with purple clouds rising and thousands of rays of light. It was sacred and solemn. This city forbade the use of force and even forbade cultivators from flying in the sky. Unless some powerful cultivators had special privileges, the rest were under the control of Ziwei City. Buzz! But now, a strong wind blew between heaven and earth. A silver beast shadow suddenly rushed in from the outer space, causing the expressions of the cultivators guarding the city gate to change drastically. They wanted to stop it, but it was too late. The miser rushed directly into Ziwei City and flew across the sky towards the Cosmos Business Alliance. Who is it? How dare you fly across the sky in Ziwei City? Do you want to die? The cultivators in the city all turned pale. Ziwei City forbade cultivators from flying in the sky, but now a living creature flew across directly. Its speed was too fast, causing a storm along the way. There were at least 1 million residents in Ziwei City. The arrival of the miser caused the city to be in an uproar. How dare you? Far away in Ziwei City's City Lord Manor, an old woman with a head of silver hair was awakened. When she noticed the living creature flying across the sky in the distance, her eyes surged with a cold light. She flew into a rage and said, "Today, I, Meng Ying, am in charge of Ziwei City. Who dares to fly in the sky in the city? They are looking down on my Ziwei sect." Meng Ying, an elder of the Ziwei sect, was also an old acquaintance of Su Yan. Her cultivation had already stepped into the heavenly god realm. Her aura was particularly powerful. Her expression was uncertain. In the past, Meng Ying could really summon the wind and rain in the Ziwei sect. Her status was on par with the Divine King. Why? Wasn't it because she had guided EC Yun into the Ziwei sect back then? In the future, EC Yun would have the holy body of Taiyin, and she would be the disciple of Deputy Dean Jinyu of the Taoist Temple. Her future would be limitless, and Meng Ying's status would rise as well. But no matter how much he thought about it, what he didn't consider was that EC Yun was a member of the Burial Realm clan. She had even stood out in the Immortal Graveyard and joined forces with Su Xianren and the others. The deaths of the 3 Scions of Primal Chaos and even Xiuming's death were all directly related to EC Yun. However, the invincible Su Xianren had already passed away. Even now, the 4P clans were joining forces to attack the Burial region. How could the Crepe Myrtle sect not know about this matter? Their clan's EC Yun would definitely die, and then Meng Ying's position would also plummet. Otherwise, why would the hard job of guarding the city be given to her? I'm really unlucky. I can't even drink cold water. Meng Ying gritted her teeth and was very angry. She rushed towards her destination with a murderous aura. After all, this city had rules since ancient times. Now that someone had broken the rules, if they couldn't punish them, then their Crepe Myrtle sect would lose all face. Miser was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at the street where the Cosmos Business Alliance was located. The Cosmos Business Alliance was a famous super business alliance in the universe. Its business spanned the entire universe. However, among the largest business alliances, the one in Ziwei City was one of them. This Cosmos Business Alliance branch occupied 3 streets. It was very popular and had many strong people. After all, the Cosmos Business Alliance had a rare discount. The volume of transactions was really shocking. Damn, they're really rich. Even Iron Rooster's eyes turned red upon seeing this. Without a doubt, the entire Universe Commerce Alliance, even if it was just one division, it was enough to leave 99% of the other alliances in the dust. Even if it was just one division, it was still terrifying. Zi Xioning's treasure-gathering business alliance, after many years of development, was still unable to compare to the Cosmos Business Alliance. Just how much heaven-defying wealth did the Business Alliance have? Of course, the Z family was also very strong. They were originally a peak clan, and with their shocking background, their rallying power was shocking. They had established good relations with all the other P clans. In fact, the Cosmos Business Alliance's current achievements were also very important. They provided convenience for the various P clans. For this business alliance that gathered all the treasures in the world, they could obtain many limited resources. Who is it? Miser occupied the sky above the Cosmos Business Alliance. His body had shrunk, but he still attracted the attention of all the cultivators present. A large group of guards rushed out from the Z family, and the leading deity said in a deep voice, "Honored guests, please excuse me for not going out to meet you. However, the sky is forbidden in Z-Way City. Fellow Taoist, are you not worried that the Z-Way sect will cause trouble for you?" Miser's body was covered in silver divine light. It was very blazing, and it was difficult for people to see his true appearance. At this moment, he cast a sidelong glance at the strong cultivator who spoke and said loudly, "Tell your manager to come out and talk." The whole scene was in an uproar. Everyone wanted to see a good show. One had to know that this was the Cosmos Business Alliance. Who would dare cause trouble for them? Impudent! How dare you cause trouble here? Speak clearly. The group of guards' faces changed in anger. Their auras surged out, and the scene was about to break out. What's the matter? What good news has the Cosmos Business Alliance encountered today? Why are you decorating here? What are you celebrating? At this moment, everyone realized that there was a figure sitting cross-legged on the back of this silver creature. What does it have to do with what my clan is celebrating? It was also at this moment that the Divine King rushed out from within the Cosmos Business Alliance. A veteran Divine King instantly walked out. His body was billowing with purple energy, and the aura he emitted was intimidating. This purple-robed old man was dignified without being angry. He had been in a high position for a long time, and he had the dignity of a superior. He looked down at Miser and Su Yin and shouted, "Tell your manager to come out and talk. Where do you think you are?" "Greetings, Elder Zi Yangxing." The guards of the Cosmos Business Alliance were overjoyed. This was a strong Divine King. His aura was blazing like a burning purple sun, and he was full of majesty. "The 4P clans are surrounding the burial region," Su Yin said in a low voice. "It seems that you are very happy and are celebrating here. You surprised me." "You," Zi Yangxing's expression changed. He pointed at Su Yin, his expression uncertain. He suddenly laughed. "You can't be a strong expert from the burial region, right?" The surrounding people were dumbfounded. This person was from the burial region? Everyone knew that the Z family targeted Su Yin in the past, and even issued a kill order. After all, Su Yin's growth was too frightening, and his deeds were widely spread. "Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously in my Z-Way city?" At this moment, Meng Ying led a large group of guards over from a distance. The people who rushed over were filled with killing intent, as if they would not give up. "Ha ha ha! Elder Meng Ying, you came at the right time." Zi Yangxing laughed angrily. "The person who came should be a strong expert from the burial region. Let me join forces and take him down first." The burial region? Meng Ying's expression was ugly. He hated this clan. It was all because of this clan that EC Yun would not have been affected by the storm. Otherwise, her position would not have been in danger. Boom! At this moment, Zi Yangxing erupted. The moment his entire body was revived, the Divine King's aura surged. He was like a blazing purple sun, filled with blazing blood energy fluctuations. Kind people will be bullied. Su Yan's eyes were cold. This clan should have been dealt with long ago. The Merchant Union's actions had thoroughly angered Su Yan. Boom! Facing the Divine King's large hand that blotted out the sky, Su Yan's palm instantly slapped out. No one saw the trajectory of his attack. The street trembled as if it was about to explode. A miserable shriek exploded, accompanied by a thick spray of blood. Everyone was stunned. One had to know that this was a strong expert from the Divine King, but now he was sent flying, his body smashing into a building. The blood that seeped out from his back dyed the entire wall red. Then they saw Zi Yangxing fall down like a dead dog. He was shivering and his heart was filled with fear. "Elder!" The expressions of the Cosmos Business Alliance's guards changed. They rushed over in unison and surrounded Zi Yangxing. Their expressions were somewhat alarmed. They didn't even see who had attacked, but Zi Yangxing had been seriously injured. "Don't move." Zi Yangxing roared in pain and stopped those who wanted to help him. That was because all the bones in his body had been shattered. If he moved, his body would directly rot away. "Elder." The group of guards was frightened. What was going on? Could it be that all the bones in the Divine King's body had been shattered? What kind of ruthless person had done this? Call for help, quickly." Zi Yangxing roared crazily because he had been crippled. The Divine King's body would collapse at any moment. His eyes were red. It was originally a joyous occasion, but now he had encountered such grievous news. His heart was erupting with flames of fury. Did you see that just now? The surrounding onlookers were stunned. They didn't see anything. They only saw Zi Yangxing fly away. Could it be that the person who attacked was a supreme powerhouse? One had to know that this was the Divine King. At this moment, he was like a scarecrow, blood constantly spurting out from his nose and mouth. It was too miserable. "Who are you?" Meng Ying was on high alert. She directly summoned a supreme powerhouse's saint weapon and angrily shouted, "This is my crepe myrtle cult's territory. You disregarded the rules and flew through the air. You even used force within the city. Even if you're a supreme powerhouse of the buried region, is my crepe myrtle cult a place where you can behave so atrociously? What, after not seeing each other for so many years, does Elder Meng Ying not recognize me?" Su Yan sighed. In the past, Meng Ying had regarded herself as a beggar. But now, in Su Yan's eyes, she was truly insignificant. "Who are you?" Meng Ying's expression was uncertain. She felt that this voice was very familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it from. At this time, Meng Ying's heart was filled with panic. This was because the Supreme Powerhouse's saint weapon in her hand began to tremble involuntarily and even broke free from her control. This gave Meng Ying a great fright. This person was controlling her Supreme Powerhouse's saint weapon. She instantly crushed the Crepe Myrtle cult's warning talisman, summoning the sect's powerhouses to rush over. The Crepe Myrtle cult was not a pushover. There were more than one or two supreme powerhouses within the sect. Even if a supreme powerhouse were to act atrociously in the Crepe Myrtle cult, they could forget about escaping unscathed. "Elder Meng Ying, you're truly a person of great renown." A faint voice sounded out, but it was like a thunderclap from the highest heavens. It caused Meng Ying's eyes to darken. She coughed up large mouthfuls of blood, unable to control herself. In her divine sense, the heavens and earth blurred. A majestic figure stood at the peak of the universe. He was as grand as a supreme being, becoming the sole ruler of Meng Ying's spiritual world. It's you. How is this possible?" Meng Ying trembled. Her legs and feet didn't listen to her commands. She felt despair and disbelief. Su Xianren had come back to life. He had come back to life and was even standing here in Crepe Myrtle Cult. Chapter 1256. Su Yan, whom she had once looked down on and regarded as a wild brat, even forbade E.C. Yun from interacting with Su Yan. But times were changing. In just a few decades, Su Yan had shaken the world and stirred up the winds and clouds. His rise began in the chaos ruins. Each battle was more astonishing than the last. His divine might spread throughout the entire universe. So what if he was an overlord who looked down on the world? So what if he was a peerless and shocking child of taboo? In the end, they were all killed by Su Yan one after another, even in his glorious battle. He had crossed 2 major realms and killed until no one in the world dared to claim supremacy. Meng Ying, who was in the Crepe Myrtle sect, really felt fear. The wild brat that she had once ignored was now high and mighty. He was so majestic that Meng Ying did not even have the qualifications to look up to him. Legend had it that he was dead. Meng Ying also heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Su Yan would come to find trouble with her. But now, Su Yan had mysteriously appeared in Ziwei City. Meng Ying felt that Su Yan was here to settle the score with her. She was in despair because her spiritual was crushed by Su Yan's aura, and she submitted. Plop! In a short period of time, Meng Ying could not take it anymore and knelt on the ground. She was trembling and suddenly felt disbelief in her heart. But Su Yin was still alive and was now in front of her. Elder, the expressions of a group of crepe myrtle sect cultivators changed drastically. One had to know that Meng Ying had a sacred status in the crepe myrtle sect. But now, she was kneeling in front of a mysterious person. She had embarrassed the entire crepe myrtle sect. The entire Ziwei city was in an uproar. They saw the grand elder of the crepe myrtle sect kneeling in front of a mysterious person with Meng Ying's identity and status. She was enough to represent the honor and disgrace of the entire crepe myrtle sect. But now, she was kneeling in front of a person in her own territory. This had really subverted their thinking. Boom! Suddenly, one wave after another of vast fluctuations came from afar. From afar to near, it spread towards Ziwei City like lightning. Countless creatures trembled. The aura originated from the crepe myrtle sect. After all, something had happened in Ziwei City. A large number of cultivators from the crepe myrtle sect immediately rushed out, including several half-almighties. For a time, the entire Ziwei segmentum was filled with a cold, murderous aura. Dozens of powerhouses rushed out. They all had great backgrounds and held high positions in the Ziwei sect. Who dares to behave atrociously in the crepe myrtle school? Report your name. A large group of powerful cultivators surged over. Their auras were especially powerful. The crepe myrtle sect had come to Ziwei City in a big way. When they saw Meng Ying kneeling in front of Su Yin, they were furious. How dare you humiliate an elder of my crepe myrtle sect? Who are you? All of you are dead for sure. Daring to behave atrociously in Ziwei City is making an enemy of the entire Ziwei sect. They were furious. Some of them directly pointed at Su Yin and the miser, killing intent surging from their bodies. Although he didn't know who they were, the crepe myrtle sect was a peak group. There was no group in this world that they were afraid of. Under the fury of a supreme sect, the entire Ziwei City was in an uproar. They all felt that these people were really courting death. Did they want to challenge a supreme sect with just the two of them? Elder Meng Ying. At this time, Saintess Ziwei floated over. Her temperament was otherworldly. Compared to a few decades ago, the current Saintess Ziwei was even more beautiful. Her snow-white body was filled with a holy aura, and her eyes rippled with a purple divine light. Saintess Ziwei was about to break through to the divine king realm. In fact, if not for Yun leaving early, it was hard to say who this Saintess Ziwei would be. However, ever since Yun and the buried realm race walked together, Saintess Ziwei's status also rose. She was the complete opposite of Meng Ying. Now, Saintess Ziwei was being nurtured by the entire Ziwei sect because she was about to step into the divine king realm. Meng Ying, what are you doing? Stand up immediately. My Ziwei sect's face has been lost because of you. Saintess Ziwei's expression was stern. She didn't have a good impression of Meng Ying. Back then, she had led Yun into the sect and almost caused her to lose the position of saintess. But now, Saintess Ziwei's cultivation had surpassed Meng Ying. Naturally, she wouldn't be nice to her. Even the dignified leader of the Ziwei sect was kneeling in Ziwei City. This made the experts of the Ziwei sect furious. Saintess Ziwei. Meng Ying's mind was still in a daze. She glanced at Saintess Ziwei and laughed self-deprecatingly. How much better can your ending be than mine? Impudent. Saintess Ziwei was not angry. She shouted, I think you're crazy. And you too, causing trouble in my Ziwei City. What do you think the Ziwei sect is? We're not scared, but I advise you not to look for trouble. The miser sneered. How dare you? Don't talk nonsense with them. Just take them down. Even if they have a powerful origin, let their elders come to the Ziwei sect and ask for forgiveness. The group of experts of the Ziwei sect was furious. Someone directly attacked, not believing that they couldn't suppress the two of them. Boom! For a moment, the entire Ziwei city was filled with killing intent. A group of experts followed closely behind. They had to suppress the perpetrators as soon as possible and minimize the impact of this matter. The killing intent in the sky surged and rushed towards Su Yan. However, the outcome was frightening. One had to know that a half-step mighty figure had attacked, using his shocking divine power to attack Su Yan. But in the end, no matter how violent the energy storm was, the surging killing power was completely annihilated when it approached Su Yan. What? Saintess Ziwei's expression changed in shock, and she retreated slightly. She said, "Who are you?" So easily, he suppressed the attacks of so many experts. Could it be that the other party was an expert infinitely close to becoming a mighty figure? He had a powerful origin. People of the Ziwei sect, listen up. The Saintess stays, the rest of you leave. Su Yan said coldly, "I'll give you a warning, or don't blame me for being merciless." You. The group of elders of the Ziwei sect was furious. What was he going to do? Was he going after their Saintess? This caused them to be shocked and angry. Wasn't he taking the Crepe Myrtle sect too lightly? He asked the Saintess to stay. Those who didn't know would really think that Su Yan was going to kidnap the Saintess. Bastard, suppress this madman for me. Saintess Ziwei's face was full of anger, but she was extremely careful and vigilant, retreating directly. After all, there were no madmen among the experts who had cultivated to this level. This person definitely had a certain level of combat strength, and was likely a mighty figure. Where do you think you're going? Su Yan's eyes widened, and a hand stretched across the sky, grabbing the retreating Saintess Ziwei. How dare you? The group of elders of the Ziwei sect was also furious, and they all attacked. The half-step mighty figures unleashed their full strength, and for a moment, the entire Ziwei city was surging with a murderous aura, rushing toward the hand that was grabbing Saintess Ziwei. Boom! This giant hand instantly became boundlessly huge, and the palm seemed to contain a universe, enriching the source of endless terror. Oh my God! The whole city was in an uproar. A giant golden hand that covered the sky, and the sun, the moon, and the stars seemed extremely small in front of this giant hand. It came crashing down with a roar, and the energy sources that attacked the giant hand in the process were all shaken back. Poof! However, all of the powerhouses who tried to attack were sent flying by the shockwave of their own energy. Even the half-step mighty figures were no exception. They were all terrified. This was definitely a mighty figure with extraordinary means. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to change the trajectory of their energy. Inform our clan's mighty figures, or else the Saintess will be in trouble. Some experts roared. Once Saintess Ziwei was taken away, it would be a scandal that would shake the entire universe. However, since Su Yan had attacked, who could stop him? A giant golden hand covered the sky and instantly enveloped Saintess Ziwei. Bastard! Saintess Ziwei's expression changed dramatically, and she said angrily, "You are a mighty figure, and you are shamelessly targeting a weak woman like me. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the world?" Saintess Ziwei was very scheming, and she could still remain calm at this juncture. After all, this was the Ziwei sect, and even mighty figures could not strut around here, let alone suppress and take away their sect saintess. What a weak woman! Su Yan sneered. Back then, you and Shuiguan teamed up to target me. Why don't you say that you are a weak woman? His voice came and exploded in Saintess Ziwei's ears, causing her to tremble. Great fear rose in her heart, and she could not remain calm at all. You! Saintess Ziwei was frightened. Could it be that he was Su Yan? A dead person had come back to life? At this moment, she thought of Meng Ying's words, which made her even more frightened. Her scalp went numb. She had heard of Su Yan's power many times in the Ziwei sect. Saintess Ziwei was already terrified back then. Even the Saintess of the Ziwei sect did not dare to take half a step into the Chaos Ruins. She was almost the same as King Flash, because of the grudge between her and Su Yan. Boom! At this moment, a vast space-time fluctuation surged within the Cosmos Business Alliance. This was the opening of a teleportation array that crossed star fields, and one after another, powerful figures of the Cosmos Business Alliance were being brought in. The moment the three half-step almighties stepped out one after another, they were furious when they saw the crippled Zi Yangxing. How many years had it been? Other than Su Yin back then, no one dared to go against the Universe Commerce Alliance, which had huge wealth. But now, a divine king had been crippled. This was a great loss for the Cosmos Business Alliance. Who dares to do this? The three half-step mighty figures were furious. They walked out with killing intent and shouted, "Who dares to go against our Cosmos Business Alliance?" The divine king was crippled just like that. Do you think our Cosmos Business Alliance is a pushover? Even if it's a mighty figure, we won't let this go easily. Xingping, don't be afraid. Our race has divine medicine that can prolong your life. Another half-step mighty figure shouted, "Who dares to attack our race? Come out immediately. I don't want to repeat myself." They were very confident because they had brought many secret treasures. These treasures could suppress mighty figures. Even if the other party had a powerful background, the Z family was on good terms with the various peak races and could summon many people to support them. The atmosphere in the city was very quiet. They wanted to say, "Do you know what happened just now?" He even dared to suppress Saint Ziwei, let alone the Cosmos Business Alliance. Old ancestors, but Zi Yangxing was very anxious. He had seen Su Yan's strength with his own eyes. The Ziwei sect had sent so many experts, but they couldn't even touch the corner of Su Yan's clothes. This meant that this person must be a mighty figure expert. Since he dared to suppress Saintess Ziwei in Ziwei City, he was definitely not someone to be trifled with. The Cosmos Business Alliance could not afford to offend such a person. What's the big deal? Why are you panicking? There's no buts. A big shot of the Cosmos Business Alliance with a gloomy face said. His name was Zi Winda. He said coldly, "Zihong's line has been defeated. Our line has won completely. We only took a portion of the divine medicine essence from our family's treasury. It's nothing." Chapter 12:57. Zi Yangxing's face turned green. That was not what he wanted to say, but the three big shots of the Z family had joined forces to force forward. It looked like they were really going to make a move. "Is it the two of you?" Zi Winda looked coldly at Su Yin and said coldly, "Tell me your name." "There's no one in this world that my Cosmos Business Alliance cannot afford to offend." What a big tone. Iron Rooster sat in the air and sneered. "You're talking as if you have a taboo overseeing your clan. Just an evil creature. Kill him." Zi Winda's old face was filled with anger. He raised his big hand and grabbed Iron Rooster. Looking at his posture, it seemed like he wanted to crush Iron Rooster to death. Same. Boom. A big hand appeared in the sky. Zi Winda's old hand was surging with the light of order. It tore open the void and was about to grab Iron Rooster in the palm of his hand. After all, this was a half-step mighty figure, which was considered a shocking combat power in the universe. Everyone thought that Su Yin, who was suppressing Saint Ziwei, would make a move. Who would have thought that the silver creature, shrouded in silver light, would sneer again? "You want to pinch me with one hand? I think you're dreaming, old fart." Under everyone's shocked gaze, Iron Rooster's claw reached down and gently lifted one of his little fingers. This scene, this posture, this arrogance, it made everyone dumbfounded. What was he doing? Was he going to suppress a half-step mighty figure with just one little finger? Was the heavens playing a joke on them? Unless this creature was also a mighty figure. Zi Winda almost exploded in anger. He stuck out a finger and aimed it at him. What did he take him for? An ant? However, the moment Miser's finger pressed down, the entire world changed. It was as if an enormous mountain had descended from the heavens, filling the entire sky. It was as if the source of all destructive power was flowing within it. What? Zi Winda's face trembled as he quickly retreated. This finger was so heavy that it was as heavy as the sea of stars. However, it was impossible for him to leave. Miser's finger smashed down and crushed Zi Winda's entire palm. Moreover, traces of destructive cracks quickly spread along his arm and spread throughout his entire body. Zi Winda trembled in fear. His entire body began to crack. Not good, stop. This scene made the other two half-step mighty figures of the Z family furious. They instantly took out their holy weapons and swept them toward Iron Rooster, Everyone found it hard to believe. Miser Rooster was also an almighty expert, and his battle prowess was too terrifying. When he flicked his finger on the almighty expert's saint weapon, the weapon wailed on its own. The mighty figure's holy weapon was unable to gather its divine power with just one finger. This made the half-step mighty figure of the Z family feel fear from the bottom of his heart. This was definitely not an ordinary mighty figure. It was very likely that this was an expert infinitely close to the peak of the mighty figures. The three half-grand cultivators prostrated themselves on the ground, unable to stand up. Iron Rooster hovered in the air. This made the severely injured Crepe Myrtle Sex experts tremble. These two mighty figures had unfathomable cultivation. What was their purpose? Did Crepe Myrtle Sect provoke some powerful enemy? No. Saint Z Wei's miserable voice came. Suyin did not kill her. Instead, he destroyed her cultivation. You're so cruel. You're already an expert of this realm. Why do you still target me? Saint Z Wei was in despair. The divine power she had painstakingly cultivated was destroyed by Su Yan. She had become a cripple without any cultivation. Su Yan's expression was cold. He did not speak. He hated Saintess Z Wei. But now that he stood in this realm, Saintess Z Wei was insignificant in his eyes. Destroying her cultivation was the cycle of karma. It was also an explanation for his past self. Who the hell are you? A half-step mighty figure of Crepe Myrtle's sect roared. Our sect's Saintess cultivation was destroyed just like that. You're a mighty figure. Aren't you going too far? Do you really think our Crepe Myrtle sect is so easy to bully? Although the Crepe Myrtle sect's experts had lost to Su Yin, their hearts were burning with anger. They could not calm down. Who had they offended? Why did he destroy their Saintess cultivation? He did not even give them a chance to negotiate. I don't care who you are. This debt cannot be forgiven. There were also elders roaring, even if our Crepe Myrtle sect uses the power of our entire sect, we will get an explanation. Su Yan's eyes flashed with cold lightning. He looked at all the experts of Crepe Myrtle sect here. Under his gaze, these people were terrified. They could not bear Su Yan's mental intimidation. They were all trembling and could not muster any courage to say anything. If you can't, then come find me, Su Yin said coldly. I'm right here. If Crepe Myrtle's sect wants to take revenge on me, then come at me. I'll take it. Okay, you said it. I hope you don't leave. Some experts fled in fear. They wanted to go back and report the news. They needed the clan's mighty figure to recover before they could get an explanation for the Saintess cultivation. What do we do with these three old men? Kill them directly? Miser asked. When Z Winda and the others heard this, they trembled in fear. Someone said in a trembling voice, Fellow Taoist, we don't know how we offended you. Just say it. Even if we die, at least let us know how we died. Su Yin walked over, looked at the three experts of the Z family, and said indifferently, These days, the 4P clans have joined forces to besiege the Burial Region clan. Su Yan's eyes flashed with coldness. Your clan originally belonged to the Burial Region clan. Although you don't want to return to the Burial Region clan, my clan has never forced your Z family to do anything for my clan. Z Winda and the others trembled in fear. They finally understood that they were the experts of the Burial Region clan. However, they were also terrified. Their clan had encountered a great calamity, but why did two mighty figures come out? Could it be that the calamity was over and they had won? This was the only explanation that made sense. But how could this be? How could their clan have won in such a situation? No matter what, you used to belong to the Burial Region clan. Su Yin said coldly. But what are you doing now? Decorating this place with lanterns and banners, celebrating with your entire clan. I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as you. His aura vaguely leaked out. The three half-step mighty figures could not bear it. They were terrified to the extreme. They felt that it was difficult to breathe in the face of the magnificent universe. Boom! Su Yan's palm suddenly rushed forward. Along the way, everything was destroyed. The entire street collapsed layer by layer. All the palaces were blown to smithereens. The Cosmos Business Alliance in Ziwei City was smashed into ruins by Su Yan's palm. Then, countless treasures were torn apart. Soon, billions of rays of treasure light surged out, illuminating the entire Ziwei City. It was dazzling. Everyone present was dumbfounded. He had destroyed the entire branch of the Cosmos Business Alliance and even swept away all the wealth. There was definitely an unimaginable amount of wealth gathered here, and now it was all in his pocket. Then, did this person only come here to plunder the treasures of the Cosmos Business Alliance? The hearts of the three great figures of the Z family were bleeding. For a long time, they had been worried that the Burial Region clan would make a move on them. Now, they had finally come, and their methods were so cruel. The entire branch was destroyed, and all the treasures were stripped away by Su Yan. What, you're not willing? Su Yan glanced at the three of them. The three of them were terrified. Z Winda said in a trembling voice, "No, this is what your clan deserves. You deserve it." In front of absolute power, dignity and loss were not important. If the Burial Region clan really won, it would definitely be their nightmare. For the sake of Shioning's help, I won't exterminate the Z family. Su Yin said indifferently, "When I'm done with some things, I'll pay a visit to your Z family." His low voice was like a billion claps of thunder. Z Winda felt fear. He was so scared that he was about to burn. Could it be that this person was Su Yin? The three of them were really frightened. They trembled and thought about escaping with their clan. However, no matter how big the world was, where could they escape to? If they really escaped, they would really end up in a fight to the death. "Let's go." Su Yin stood on the back of Iron Rooster. What if they run away? Iron Rooster frowned. Compared to getting rid of the Ancestral Hall, Iron Rooster wanted to overturn the entire Cosmos Business Alliance and take control of the universe's #1 chamber of commerce. The important matters are more important. Let's go to the Ancestral Hall immediately, Su Yin said in a low voice. They had already wasted some time on the way and could not delay any longer. They had to rush to the Ancestral Hall as soon as possible to prevent them from making preparations. Boom! Iron Rooster's body instantly shone with divine light and began to penetrate the universe. Borrowing the power of the universe's stars, they crossed to the Ancestral Hall. However, just as they broke through the sky and were about to leave, in the distant world, a powerful airflow was emitted, shaking the 4 seas and then sweeping toward Ziwei City. The entire Ziwei City was shaking, and the city was also coming to life. A domain pattern that connected the heavens and the earth surged out, sealing the entire city in an instant. Where do you think you're going? A purple figure crossed one large region after another and rushed toward Ziwei City. When he saw the crippled Ziwei Saintess, he was furious. "You crippled my sex, Saintess. Even if I cut you into pieces, it would still be difficult to wash away this shame. Even if you come from a peak clan, your clan will not be kind." Boom! Su Yan's long black hair fluttered in the wind. His aura surged out in an instant. It was so terrifying that it caused the universe to tremble. Dense black cracks appeared on the sealed Ziwei City as it trembled. A large golden hand also slapped out, tearing apart the sky and reaching the pinnacle of the universe. An extremely terrifying aura of a giant surged out. Bang! The crepe myrtle sect's powerful being was sent flying by Su Yan's slap. His entire body, along with his weapon, fell into the ancestral land of the crepe myrtle sect. Even a corner of the ancestral land was blasted open by Su Yan's giant palm. Updated. Chapter 1258. Heavens, that's the almighty expert of the crepe myrtle sect. He was sent flying with a single slap and sent straight into the ancestral land of the crepe myrtle sect. Inconceivable. Who exactly is that expert? Could it be an almighty being? This time, the crepe myrtle sect is in trouble. They don't have a supreme almighty overseeing them. If they really offended a supreme almighty, they will have to pay a great price to settle this matter. The entire crepe myrtle city was in an uproar. No one was not shocked. Most of them were trembling from the depths of their souls. Su Yan's combat strength was too strong. causing everyone in the city to feel suffocated. A supreme almighty was already high above, looking down on everything. But now, a supreme almighty had been sent flying with a single slap from Su Yan. They were naturally terrified, but they were also curious. How did Saintess Crepe Myrtle provoke such a giant dragon? Whether it was Meng Ing or Saintess Crepe Myrtle, they both felt a deep sense of despair. Su Yan alone was enough to deter a supreme sect. Who could stand up for them? Moreover, Su Yan came to settle karma. He had enough reasons to do so. A supreme almighty, it must be him, it must be. Zi Winda shivered. He never thought that this was a supreme, almighty level expert. They were certain that this was not the old leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect, but someone else. Then there was only one explanation. Su Yan was really still alive. Back then, he crossed 2 realms in the immortal graveyard and was invincible, leading to the current Crepe Myrtle sect. A complete victory. What do we do? What about my clan? Will my clan be exterminated? We are still alive. He didn't kill us. He wants us to go back and inform our clan. They still had a glimmer of hope in their hearts. After all, the Zi family's lost bloodline had a relationship with Su Yan. In particular, Zi Xiaoning and Su Yan's relationship was extremely deep. She had helped him many times. Zi Winda guessed Su Yan's thoughts. He felt that Su Yan was giving the Zi family a chance. But what they didn't know was that Su Yan had an important matter to attend to and had to immediately head to the Ancestral Hall. He had no time to deal with the Zi family. Peerless Almighty. A mournful roar came from within the Ziwei sect. His heart was filled with fear. Originally, he had charged into Ziwei City with the intention of denouncing them. In the end, as soon as he arrived in Ziwei City, before he could even see who the enemy was, he was slapped in the face. Moreover, the entire ancestral land of the Crepe Myrtle sect was blasted open by Su Yan's giant palm. A strong enemy is coming. The entire Crepe Myrtle sect was in an uproar. Sounds of warning surged out, and the foundation of Crepe Myrtle sect was fully restored. One after another, powerful masters who had been sleeping for years also emitted a terrifying source of blood vitality. However, when they were awakened, they were also terrified. This was because 2 figures had suddenly appeared outside the Crepe Myrtle sect. They were able to sense the fluctuations that surged out from these 2 people. They were grand to the extreme and filled with absolute power. 2 peerless experts. The Crepe Myrtle sect's great expert was in despair. He exclaimed, "Dao brothers, what has our Crepe Myrtle sect done to you? To be able to make you mobilize so many people, our Crepe Myrtle sect has not provoked any strong enemies, nor have we done anything out of line." A supreme sect was frightened. All the people in power felt their scalps go numb. If these 2 supreme experts were to attack, Crepe Myrtle sect would most likely be wiped out. Within the Crepe Myrtle sect, the severely injured great expert was even more terrified. He knew how powerful the newcomers were, but he never thought that there would be another supreme expert. Although he did not know why Saint Lady Crepe Myrtle was crippled, the other party's strength made them have no choice but to bow their heads and even admit defeat. The entire Crepe Myrtle sect was in an uproar. 2 supreme experts looked down on the world and pressed towards Crepe Myrtle sect. They had the attitude of wanting to kill Crepe Myrtle sect. A group of great figures within the sect were facing a great enemy. They did not dare to speak with the slightest disrespect. If these existences really went crazy, they knew that it would be difficult for Crepe Myrtle sect to stop them. Even if they could, Crepe Myrtle sect would most likely cease to exist. What was this? One person intimidated a supreme sect, making them not dare to act rashly. Where is the Crepe Myrtle sect leader? Su Yan suddenly remembered an old matter and wanted to investigate it thoroughly before leaving. Back on Bipolar Star, the Crepe Myrtle sect leader had made things difficult for him. But this was not important, because the Crepe Myrtle sect leader had a close relationship with Shueguan. If he could suppress the Crepe Myrtle sect leader, he might be able to find clues about the Yin Yang Road. After all, Shueguan had a deep connection with the Yin Yang Road. Su Yan wanted to investigate this mysterious race right now. Perhaps it would be helpful in resisting the dark calamity in the future. My sect leader has been missing on Bipolar Star for many years. At this time, a purple-clothed woman took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in her heart. She walked out. Her hair was white and she looked very old. However, this woman still had the appearance of a young woman. She was very stunning. She respectfully said to Su Yin, "This junior is the previous sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect. May I ask what my sect has done to offend you?" Su Yin looked at the old sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect. He felt that she was familiar, but after thinking about it carefully, he suddenly realized something. "You are the old sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect?" Su Yin was surprised. He bowed to her and said, "I dare not accept the title of senior." What? The group of old ancestors of the Crepe Myrtle sect were shocked. What was this? A supreme being bowed to the previous sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect. This was too shocking. How could a half-step supreme being accept this? "Senior is too polite. I'm a little afraid," the old sect leader hurriedly said. She had very few friends. Even if she was a supreme being, she had very few friends. However, the old ancestors of the Crepe Myrtle sect were overjoyed. They might have some friendship that could protect the Crepe Myrtle sect. "Ha ha! Senior, you and the old Star Lord saved my life back then. How could this junior forget?" Su Yin looked up to the sky and laughed. "Back then, EC even became your disciple. She said that you treated her well. Although it's said that the one who has reached a high level of cultivation should be respected, you calling me senior is really too much." This old sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect and the old Star Lord were fated to be together. If not for the fact that the old sect leader was the saintess of the Crepe Myrtle sect, she might have become Tao companions with the old Star Lord. Su Yin was filled with emotions. Now that the old Star Lord was a supreme being, he wondered if they would have the opportunity to be together in the end. The old Star Lord had never married. This showed how deep their friendship was. Back when Su Yin came out of the Bipolar Star, he was hunted by the Ancestral Hall's supreme being. The old Star Lord risked his life to help. This old sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect also helped. The old sect leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect pointed at Su Yin and trembled with excitement. She said, "You're still alive. You're still alive." How could she forget this matter? How could she not know that the person who joined forces with the old Star Lord to protect back then had caused such a huge storm in the universe? But a few years ago, didn't Su Xianren, who was invincible in the universe, die in the Taoist temple? Now he was standing in front of her, which shocked her. "I'm lucky. I won't die." Su Yin replied with a smile. "Good, good, good." The old sect leader was also very excited. She didn't expect that her actions back then would create such good karma. She also understood why the supreme beings wanted to cripple the saintess of Crepe Myrtle and suppress Meng Ying. Of course, these two had a grudge against Su Yin. "You said that the Crepe Myrtle sect leader is still in the Bipolar Star?" Su Yin frowned. Back then, the Crepe Myrtle sect leader escaped into the Great Path Mountain, which was one of the 9 great immortal mountains. Su Yin was ready to go to the Bipolar Star to take a look now. The old sect leader nodded. Ever since the Crepe Myrtle sect leader went to the Bipolar Star, he never left. After that, he never came out again, and she was currently acting as the head of the Crepe Myrtle sect. "Okay." Su Yin nodded and immediately said, "I have important matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. I'll come visit again another day. Also, I have no grudge with the Crepe Myrtle sect. It's just some personal grudges that have been resolved now. If there are any experts in the Crepe Myrtle sect who want to take revenge on me, feel free to come to me." Su Yin left in a hurry. He had wasted enough time and had to hurry to the Ancestral Hall. The words he left behind made the group of Crepe Myrtle sect ancestors breathe a sigh of relief. But what personal grudge was it? Saintess Crepe Myrtle had only cultivated for a few years. How could she have offended a supreme being? "What did you say?" When the group of Crepe Myrtle sect experts learned of his identity from the old sect leader, the entire Crepe Myrtle sect was in an uproar. This ruthless person was still alive. In other words, the 4 peak groups had failed. A shocking piece of news was about to spread throughout the entire universe. It also meant that the situation in the universe would undergo a terrifying reversal. Fortunately, Our crepe myrtle sect didn't provoke him back then. Some crepe myrtle sect experts felt fear. The tragic state of the sealing heaven domain was still vivid in their minds. The ancestral hall had suffered heavy losses at the hands of Su Yin. Since he had survived and even had this level of battle strength, then how could Su Xianren let go of the grudge of the past? As for the Z family, everyone was in a state of panic. When the legend continued, the four peak groups were likely to suffer a crushing defeat. But the Cosmos Business Alliance was celebrating. Bastard, who gave the order? Who made the Cosmos Business Alliance organize these festive events? How come I didn't know about it at all? The head of the Z family almost went mad with anger. At this critical juncture, he had even encountered Su Xianren. The loss of Crepe Myrtle City was nothing, but the Z family was about to suffer. Su Yin had already said that he would pay them a visit. When he came, who could stop him? Let's go, family, let's leave quickly. Evacuate the entire family. An elder hurriedly said, if we don't leave, our clan will suffer. Su Yin is a supreme being. In the entire flourishing age, who can stop him except for the taboo? Bullshit. The head of the Z family was furious. Where could they escape to? Moreover, Su Yin was a master of occult arts. Even if the Z family withdrew, the Cosmos Business Alliance's businesses in the entire universe would not be able to escape in a short period of time. How could he escape unscathed in a short period of time? This was simply unrealistic. This was because the various major branches of the Cosmos Business Alliance had deep cooperative relationships with the strongest local forces of the major star fields. If the Cosmos Business Alliance retreated completely, they would also offend these forces. At that time, the experts of the entire world would not spare the Cosmos Business Alliance. The only way now is to extinguish Su Yan's anger. Z Winda said in a trembling voice, you don't know at all. He's too strong. He forced the entire Crepe Myrtle sect to submit. The dignified saintess didn't even dare to say a word when she was crippled. The entire Z family was terrified. No matter how strong the Z family was, it was impossible for them to be on par with the Crepe Myrtle sect. Even the Crepe Myrtle sect couldn't do anything to Su Yin, let alone the grudge between the Z family and Su Yin. Quick, go and invite Zihong. At this time, the family head thought of something. He was still calm. He remembered that Zihong's lineage had helped Su Yin. If Su Yin cared about their friendship, he would not be so ruthless. Zihong was considered the second most important person in the Z family. Since Su Yan's death, the 4P clans had attacked the burial realm. The family head of the Z family had only won a few days ago, and now Zihong was respectfully invited out, as if he was waiting on a master. Zihong sighed. He didn't expect Su Yin to still be alive. This matter shocked him too much. Brother Zihong, now is not the time to talk about other things. The family head of the Z family said in a deep voice, our family is about to suffer a disastrous consequence. It is very likely that we will be wiped out. Our family should work together to overcome this crisis. You want to quell Su Yan's anger? Zihong chuckled and said, go and capture the idiot who gave this order first. The family head of the Z family was ashen. He had investigated clearly. It was his son, the Purple Jade King, who did this. The main family was about to be wiped out, but the Z family was celebrating. This matter was too serious. If the old experts of the burial realm knew, the consequences would be even more serious. They had been betrayed by the Cohen family and would definitely not forgive the Z family. Whereas the Purple Jade King, the group of ancestors of the Z family also came. Their faces were gloomy as they said, quickly hand him over. Family head, you don't need to protect your stupid son. The Z family's survival is at stake. We can completely abolish your position as family head and hand your lineage over to the burial realm. As long as we can preserve the bloodline of the Z family, we have no objections no matter how much we have to pay. The matter was imminent. If the Z family did not take a stance, the destruction of the entire clan would not be far away. According to the information I received, Zihong laughed heartily. The Purple Jade King is currently dispatching troops and preparing to capture Zixioning. who is managing the merchant union for Su Yin. You should know how long this brat has been eyeing Zi Xiaoning. What? Purple Jade King, this bastard. What are you trying to do? Everyone in the Zi family was frightened. If the Purple Jade King captured Zi Xiaoning alive, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even with Zi Hong's favor, would Su Xianren spare the Purple Jade King's lineage? The family head of the Zi family wanted to spit out a mouthful of old blood. This was too deceitful. In short, Su Yin had not arrived yet, and the entire Zi family was in chaos. They felt that they should rush to remedy the situation first. This way, they would not be so passive. Some ancestors agreed. They felt that Su Yin not coming now was giving the Zi family time to remedy the situation. However, Su Yin had already arrived at the Ancestral Hall, the grand area where the Ancestral Hall was located. Ancestral Hall, I'm finally here. Su Yin gazed into the distance. It was a majestic star field. This was the birthplace of the burial region's race, which had been occupied by the Ancestral Hall a long time ago. Now, Su Yin had openly arrived. You two stop. The Ancestral Hall has been sealed for a few days. Once the burial region's race is eradicated, the seal will be lifted. At this time, a group of guards rushed over one after another. The leader was a young man with many experts. He had an imposing appearance and looked very awe-inspiring. He ordered Su Yin and the others to leave the territory of the ancestral region immediately. It was a very ostentatious scene. Oh, Su Yin was surprised. He looked at the young man, and soon his expression became extremely enthusiastic. He walked over and laughed loudly as if he had met an old friend. He laughed and said, "Dao friend Zhu Sheng, it has been many years. I missed you." Chapter 1259. You are. Zhu Sheng's eyes stared at the enthusiastic Su Yin. He pondered for a moment, but he couldn't recall this person's background. However, he felt that his appearance was somewhat familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. Why, fellow Taoist doesn't recognize me. Su Yin was a little disappointed. Forgive my poor eyesight, I didn't recognize fellow Taoist immediately. Zhu Sheng smiled and looked at this young heavenly deity expert. He reckoned that his background wasn't simple and his words weren't rude. Miserly Rooster muttered in his heart, feeling that this kid would be cheated to death sooner or later. Back then, Su Yin used the identity of Xia Kunlun to befriend Zhu Sheng and sneaked into Purple Sun Dao sect, causing the entire Purple Sun Dao city to collapse. After that, Su Yin changed his name to Yi Qing and sneaked in with Zhu Sheng, successfully entering the Ancestral Hall's team to explore the divine spiritual mountain range. Originally, Miserly Rooster thought that this young man called Zhu Sheng from the Ancestral Hall might have been executed, but he really didn't expect that he was still alive. Su Yin laughed heartily. Brother Zhu Sheng, you are really forgetful. It's been decades, right? I forgot the exact time, but I didn't expect that fellow Taoist already couldn't recognize me. Decades. Zhu Sheng's heart trembled violently. He sighed endlessly. Su Yan's words really evoked his unbearable memories. He really hated Xia Kunlun and Yi Qing from back then. Because of these things, he also offended Zhu Onbong. One had to know that he was the son of the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor. Back then, Zhu Sheng was so scared that he didn't dare to contact his family. He hid in the divine spiritual mountain range, feeling uneasy all day. After that, Zhu Sheng didn't dare to go home. He wandered outside all day, living a life worse than death. He lived in nightmares all day long. After all, Zhu Onbong was dead. He was worried that the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor would kill him to vent his anger. But then, Su Yin rose up in the universe, and even killed his way to the top in the immortal graveyard. He was invincible in 2 domains, extremely glorious. In the end, Su Yin became an invincible giant. Even the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor was killed by him. In fact, Zhu Sheng no longer had any hatred towards Su Yin. The person who had cheated him many times had become a giant that he could not even look up to until a few years ago. It was only after Su Xianren and the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor died in battle that Zhu Sheng dared to return to the Ancestral Hall. Coincidentally, the 7 almighty beings of the ancestral hall died in battle, and some of the old antiques of the ancestral hall came out from the time hole of the ancestral hall's slumber. They began to manage the family's affairs. It just so happened that an old ancestor of their lineage also came out of seclusion and took good care of Zhu Sheng. This allowed Zhu Sheng to see his future once again. He saw hope and light. Those who couldn't forget about him were mostly exhausted to death by Su Yan. 90% of the geniuses in the ancestral hall were killed by Su Yan. The ancestral hall was truly lacking in new blood. Zhu Sheng, on the other hand, had become one of the rare young geniuses of the ancestral hall. He had even become the captain of the patrol team. This was a very lucrative position. He could show off all day long, and his status was much higher than it had been a few decades ago. Dao friend, you might not know this, but I have been in seclusion for the past few decades. I have completely cut off all contact with my friends in the outside world. Zhu Sheng recalled the past, and a smile appeared on his face. Time was truly wonderful. Zhu Yuer, Zhu Onbong, and the others who looked down on him back then had all fallen, including Su Yan. However, he had stubbornly survived and was even entrusted with an important task by a powerful old ancestor. Didn't this mean that his luck was even better? So that's how it is. Su Yan sighed and said, "Actually, I really have to thank you. Without you, I really wouldn't have my current achievements. After all, some things can change the trajectory of a person's life. Perhaps this is called the butterfly effect." Su Yan's words caused Zhu Sheng to have mixed feelings. He felt that these words were too true. If it wasn't for Yi Qing's matter back then, he reckoned that he would have fallen on the road to kill Su Yan, dying an untimely death. But now he was still alive. He had even become a core member of the Ancestral Hall and was about to usher in the Ancestral Hall's best era. In the future, Zhu Sheng had hopes of stepping into the domain of the Divine King, and even had a slim chance of becoming a powerful existence. Didn't this mean that his life was much better than Zhu Onbong and the others? In fact, with Zhu Sheng's status, he could completely influence the lives of some people. After all, what kind of clan was the Ancestral Hall? Most of the friends he had made back then had come because of his identity. "Dao friend, please come in. Let's talk inside." Zhu Sheng looked at Zhu Sheng. Su Yan really regretted not having met him sooner. He hurriedly invited him over as a guest to have a good drink and reconnect the broken relationship. After all, life was beautiful, and he should enjoy what he could. The Ancestral Hall was vast and was the strongest star domain in the universe. Now, Su Yan was only at the periphery of the Ancestral Hall, but he had already grasped the extraordinary and terrifying aspects of this star domain. It was its own entity. Su Yan felt more and more that the Ancestral Hall was special. The entire star domain was like a single entity, but it contained life. As the entire star domain spat out energy from the depths of the vast universe, it was all stolen and channeled into the Ancestral Hall. Vaguely, the entire Ancestral Hall glowed, as if there was a star domain dragon lying here, enriching itself with supreme heavenly might. The Ancestral Hall really lives up to its name. Su Yan couldn't help but praise. The layout here was astonishing. The atmosphere was magnificent, as if it was nurturing a supreme creature. Of course, Zhu Sheng laughed. The Ancestral Hall is the strongest star domain in the universe, and also the origin of my Ancestral Hall's life. Although the strongest of the Ancestral Hall's generation, Yingjie, has withered, I believe that in the future, the Ancestral Hall will produce heaven-defying figures. Su Yan also saw a part of the core of the Ancestral Hall. Back then, the old leader had killed Dao Zhu in the Ancestral Hall and destroyed 1/10 of the territory. In fact, he was already strong enough. Now that Su Yan was here, it wasn't as simple as 1/10. "Come, fellow Taoist, please sit." Zhu Sheng brought Su Yan to a palace suspended in the starry sky. This was the place where the Ancestral Hall entertained distinguished guests. It was dazzling and majestic. Zhu Sheng brought Su Yan to the VIP lounge and warmly welcomed him. He even said, "I haven't had the time to ask for your name, friend." Su Yan calmly said, "My name is Su Yan." Hearing this, Zhu Sheng's body stiffened, and he looked at him. Soon he frowned. In a deep voice, he said, "Fellow Taoist, although Su Yin has fallen, this joke can't be made. If other experts at my ancestral hall heard it, it would be disastrous." Although Zhu Sheng wouldn't forget Su Yin even if he turned into ashes, the Su Yin in his memory was very vague. Perhaps his achievements were too great, and Zhu Sheng didn't want to recall the past. Who's here? At this time, in a distant world, the Divine King's airflow spread over. This is bad. Zhu Sheng's face sank, as if his but had been roasted by fire. He quickly stood up and said respectfully, "King Kampa, this is my friend. He's here as a guest." "Friend?" Divine King Kong Bo's face darkened. He didn't even look at Su Yin as he shouted, "My ancestral region won't be receiving any guests for the next few days." "It's not like you don't know this, Zhu Sheng. Now that you're the captain of the patrol team, how dare you break the law?" Zhu Sheng's face was particularly ugly. It was all because of the matter of Zhu Yu. Back then, Zhu Yangbo couldn't wait to skin Zhu Sheng alive. Although dozens of years had passed, Zhu Yangbo couldn't swallow this anger. Back then, he didn't have the guts to find Su Yin to settle the score. But couldn't he deal with Zhu Sheng? However, the old ancestor of Zhu Sheng's lineage was resurrected. With an almighty backing, Zhu Yangbo couldn't do anything to Zhu Sheng. "My status was given to me by the old ancestor. Of course, I know what to do." Zhu Sheng didn't hesitate and directly mentioned the Almighty. Zhu Yangbo's face almost turned green as he said angrily, "You dare talk back? Do you know your status?" "Ha ha, it's just a small matter. Deputy Hall Master, there's no need to be angry." Su Yin pulled the furious Zhu Sheng and said with a smile, "Take a seat first, Taoist. We can talk slowly. Do you have a right to speak here?" Zhu Yangbo was still angry and said angrily, "Get lost." "You." Veins popped out on Zhu Sheng's forehead. "Damn it, you're not leaving me any face. Can't you see that my friend is here?" Zhu Yangbo is too much of a bully. However, Zhu Sheng didn't dare to continue talking back to him. Instead, it was Su Yin who said with a smile, "Zhu Yangbo, your temper is really big. You asked me to get lost the moment I came, but since I'm here, do you think I'll leave?" "Taoist." Zhu Sheng was shocked. What was wrong with him? How dare he talk to the Divine King like this? Disrespect? How dare you? Zhu Yangbo's face changed in anger. His icy cold eyes instantly landed on Su Yin. However, Zhu Yangbo was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. His expression was particularly interesting. Of course, it was more of disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. "You." Zhu Yangbo stretched out his hand and pointed at Su Yin. His finger was trembling. He could recognize Su Yin even if he turned into ashes. "Zhu Yangbo, you don't recognize me so soon?" Su Yin said with a smile. "Sit down and have a cup of tea." Bam! Zhu Yangbo's legs went soft, and he sat down directly. He was covered in cold sweat and didn't know why he sat down. However, the young man sitting opposite him was like a human emperor standing above the 9 heavens. He felt suffocated and even trembled. "Taoist, you know the Deputy Palace Master?" Zhu Sheng was also stunned. This surprised him. "Of course I know him," Su Yin said with a smile. "Not only do I know him, but I've also had many dealings with him." "Why are you here?" Zhu Yangbo was about to cry. "It's that bastard Zhu Sheng again. Why is it him again? The ancestral palace will be destroyed by him sooner or later. I'm curious. I want to see what the ancestral region looks like." "This place used to belong to my tribe," Su Yin replied. "Aren't you leaving?" Zhu Yangbo asked again. He was already numb and didn't know what to say. "Why should I leave?" Su Yin smiled mysteriously. "Your tribe owes me something. I need to get it back." "Do you know?" Zhu Yangbo clenched his fists and suppressed the fear in his heart. He almost roared. "Your tribe is being attacked by 4 peak tribes. If you don't leave, will your tribe still exist?" Zhu Yangbo really wanted Su Yin to leave. The ancestral palace was strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. Once Su Yin killed his way in, the ancestral palace would have to pay a huge price to stop Su Yin. "I know," Su Yin nodded and said. "But do you know why you don't leave?" "Why?" Zhu Yangbo's face turned green. He was in a daze. He was nervous and afraid. "Because," Su Yin stood up and looked at Zhu Yongbua. He said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about it. Have some tea." "Have some tea." Zhu Sheng's hands were trembling. As he drank the tea, his teeth were chattering. Tea spilled out of his mouth. When he saw Su Yin disappear, Zhu Yongbua's chest heaved up and down violently. He roared, "Help me up! Hurry!" Zhu Sheng bit the teacup into pieces, and tea splashed all over the floor. He hurriedly stretched out his hand to help Zhu Yongbua up. However, he failed because Zhu Yongbua couldn't stand up at all. His hands desperately held onto Zhu Yongbua's arms but couldn't help him up. "Trash, help me up!" Zhu Yongbua wanted to stand up, but he couldn't do it. His legs felt like they were filled with lead, and his back felt like it was being pressed down by a cosmic mountain. He was in great pain and despair. He couldn't stand up or move because he was sealed by Su Yin. "Why is it me again?" Zhu Shen cried. He was sweating profusely. His name was really Su Yin. He was still alive and had arrogantly come to the ancestral region. Even a fool would know why Su Yin was here. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and report this." Zhu Yongbua's face was malevolent and incomparably mournful. "Why do you have to order me around? Do you want me to die? I'm not F*** king going." Zhu Sheng suddenly got up. He wasn't stupid, and he didn't even know where he got his courage from. He pulled out a killing sword and cut off Zhu Yongbua's head. He roared at him, "Don't bully me in the future. My name is Zhu Sheng, and I will never lose. Even ruthless Su didn't kill me. So what right do you have to humiliate me again and again? My life is tougher than yours, and I will lose everything if I die." Zhu Sheng fled. He fled without looking back. He would return when the calamity was over. 9 Heavens, Divine Sovereign. Chapter 1260. Step by step, Su Yin arrived at the core of the ancestral region. He had changed his appearance to Zhu Yongbua, so his path was unimpeded. Even if he encountered a place protected by a great array, Su Yin could directly break through it with his Mystic Gate's secret technique. Ever since he had studied the Heavenly Power chapter, Su Yin's grasp of the world's power had become increasingly proficient. He could easily control the world's power and use it as the center of an array to circulate a peak array Dao technique. Of course, Su Yin's heavens, I was also ridiculous. Along the way, there were very few things that could escape his eyes. Just like that, he arrived at the core zone of the ancestral realm. As soon as he arrived, Su Yin caught the aura at the limit of what the universe could bear. The most powerful ancient life star. Su Yin's heaven's eye glowed, his golden pupils blazing as he stared ahead at the ancient life star that covered millions of miles. It seemed to be the core of the ancestral region, and it radiated a shocking life energy. The ancestral region was a self-contained entity with a tide of life. Generations of outstanding people had nurtured powerful battle physiques that shocked the world. When Su Yin entered the core of the ancestral region, he was truly shocked. This place was too extraordinary. The mountains and rivers were magnificent to the extreme, and there was a vague, immortal aura that seemed to be nurturing a true immortal. What a terrifying world layout. If the universe's environment were to return, the ancestral region would be amazing. Su Yin gave an astonishing evaluation. To be evaluated by a grandmaster of the Mystic Gate's secret technique like this, one could see how extraordinary the ancestral region was. The Crepe Myrtle sect's ancestral land was on a completely different level from the ancestral region. A pair of golden eyes surveyed the vast territory, observing the entire ancestral region. This place was like a natural furnace that was boundless and seemed to be nurturing something. The layout of the ancestral region was different from that of the outerverse. This self-proclaimed astral region was constantly absorbing the universe's energy to nurture the entire ancestral region. Looking into the distance, Su Yin sighed in amazement. They were indeed worthy of being called the strongest race in the universe. The ancestral hall was filled with millions of ancient mountains that gushed with extremely exuberant essence that surged and rippled through the heavens. Some of the mountains were filled with chaotic energy waves. It was as if there was a group of chaotic gods cultivating and comprehending the Tao inside. There were many great Tao palaces and bronze palaces on top of the mountains. They were densely packed, and it was difficult to count them. Those who lived in them were all experts of the ancestral hall. There were also some enormous mountains that were filled with the aura of primordial, ferocious beasts. There was no doubt that they had quite a few divine beasts guarding the mountains. They had long lifespans and had lived in the ancestral realm for quite some time. There were also many giant mountains that were filled with the fluctuations of time. With a single glance, one could tell that the inheritances were ancient. On these mountains, there were many inheritances and Tao arts that emitted the profound fluctuations of the great Tao. On these giant mountains, there were many ancestral hall experts challenging the trials. In short, this place was too majestic. The millions of mountains that contained the ancestral hall's immeasurable resources, enough for their clansmen to cultivate here for countless years. I smell a medicinal fragrance. I'm going over to take a look. Tai Rooster was excited. A silver rooster was standing on Su Yan's shoulder. Its bean-sized eyes were shining like heavenly pearls. It could see the countless medicinal herbs growing in the distant world. Su Yan almost crossed over with a single step. This was a medicinal herb mountain range. Many precious herbs in the outside world were like cabbages here, growing all over the mountain range. Even the mountain range was filled with the aura of sacred herbs. There were definitely dozens of sacred herbs here, blooming with auspicious light and glistening with exuberant life essence. There were even a few stalks of sacred herbs. They were about to turn into divine herbs. They were enveloped by extremely powerful formations, waiting for the day when they would evolve into divine herbs. This was the foundation that the ancestral hall was proud of. Ha ha, I'm rich. Tai Rooster's shriek broke the silence here. After all, Su Yan had come too suddenly. With his cultivation realm, even the Almighties couldn't find him. Facing the sudden explosion, the experts guarding the medicinal herb mountain range all changed expressions. Then, they saw Zhu Yan will come with a guard. The half-step Almighty frowned and said, "Deputy Hall Master, what herbs do you need?" "I want all of them," Su Yan said with a smile. He had a premonition that this trip would be a fruitful one. "You," the half-step Almighty guarding the medicinal herb mountain range shouted. "Deputy Hall Master, this isn't a place for jokes. This is an important place for our clan. Don't break the rules. Leave immediately. Otherwise, I'll report this to the Patriarch and punish you for your offense." "Rules." Su Yan smiled at them and said, "Now, I'm going to make a new rule for your ancestral hall." "Bastard." The half-step Almighty was enraged. Even the experts guarding the medicinal herb mountain range were furious. Was Zhu Yanbo crazy? He actually dared to say such arrogant words in front of the Grand Elder. Whoosh! Tai Rooster rushed up and spread his wings. With a whoosh, the entire medicinal herb mountain range trembled. Then, the surrounding territory collapsed, and the entire medicinal herb mountain range left the ground. Not good. The group of experts' faces changed drastically. They all rushed up to stop their crazy actions. Su Yan's eyes flowed with strands of divine light that danced between heaven and earth. Then, strands of golden divine light cut through the bodies of the experts who rushed over. "Who are you?" Such overbearing means made the half-step Almighty feel fear. He was definitely not Zhu Yanbo. He must be an expert from the outside world who had sneaked into the ancestral hall. His entire body flew out and was about to sound the alarm. Su Yan raised his palm and slammed it down, grabbing the half-step Almighty in his palm. The half-step Almighty felt despair and struggled with all his might. However, no matter how strong his dermic powers and techniques were, he could not escape from Su Yan's palm. Bam! Su Yan didn't give him a chance to speak and directly crushed him. The dead half-step Almighty left behind an aura of despair. How strong was he to destroy them all with a raise of his hand? Could it be that a supreme Almighty had sneaked into the ancestral hall? Just like that, Su Yan and the others rampaged all the way into the depths of the ancestral hall. Along the way, it was really a mess. Everywhere was in chaos. Too many treasure areas had been emptied by Su Yan and the others. Countless natural treasures had fallen into their pockets. However, Su Yin felt that they had only collected less than 1%. Therefore, they sped up and charged all the way to find the most valuable treasures to lay their hands on. My goodness, the ancestral hall has developed divine or veins. Miser was moved. They came to an area filled with chaotic aura and found more than a dozen divine or veins. It was too difficult to develop divine or veins. It would easily take more than 100,000 years. Most of these divine or veins had produced chaos ores. Together, they were a huge fortune. Su Yin directly opened his hand. No matter how majestic and hard these chaos ores were, they were all uprooted by Su Yan's palm. There was no sound during the process. Only the cultivators passing by noticed that more than a dozen mountains were missing. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air and disappeared without a trace. Divine medicine. Su Yin was shocked. His golden pupils shone as he saw the world in front of him. Clouds and mist surged, and purple energy flowed. Moreover, there was the light of the great Tao spreading outwards. He saw 2 stalks of divine medicine. They were rooted in the world of clouds and mist. Each stalk of divine medicine released endless divine light, chanting the heavenly voice of the great Tao. The scene was too extraordinary and world-shocking. Su Yin sucked in a cold breath of air. 2 stalks of divine medicine. This was an enormous fortune. He never thought he would run into it. Who is it? However, there was a giant guarding this place. It revived in a short period of time, shaking the entire ancestral hall territory. What happened? My race's great expert is awakening. Many ancestral hall experts woke up. They could sense this awakened ancestral hall expert. His life aura was exuberant and powerful beyond compare. But soon, this great expert's life aura began to decline at an extremely fast speed. It quickly entered an extinguished period. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? The ancestral hall's great expert was awakening, but his life aura was quickly extinguished. Could it be that he had fallen asleep again? Many experts became vigilant. They felt that something was wrong because they felt that something was missing in the surroundings. However, they couldn't recall what it was. In the end, someone roared, "Who is it? Who dug out the treasures in my cave? Who did it?" This voice exploded, causing the entire ancestral hall to erupt into an uproar. Only now did many experts notice that the nearby treasure lands had either dried up, disappeared, or been completely dug out. The shocking news spread out, and a trace of panic quickly spread in the ancestral hall. This strange matter had never happened before, but now it was too outrageous. Many treasure lands had been dug out, but they didn't sense anything before. Moreover, they discovered that many of their clansmen had mysteriously evaporated. What was going on? Who was it that had infiltrated the ancestral hall? Something big has happened. Hurry and sound the alarm bell. Hurry. Some of the ancestral hall's old monsters had ugly expressions. A mysterious giant had barged into the ancestral hall and was currently digging out treasures in the ancestral region's core. He had already obtained quite a few treasures. Dong, dong, dong. In less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, a large golden bell rose from the ancestral region. It rumbled, transmitting golden ripples that resounded through the entire ancestral hall. It alarmed even more experts who were in the midst of cultivation. The alarm bell has been sounded. What happened? Could it be that something unexpected happened to the Buried Region clan? Are they going to gather more experts? That can't be right. The Buried Region clan's Su Xianren has already fallen. With just their clan alone, how could they stop the joint attack of 4 Great Peak clans? The ancestral hall was in chaos. Everyone looked towards the distant alarm bell. However, in the next moment, all of the ancestral hall's experts were stunned, momentarily speechless. Dong! It was because an enormous golden fist smashed over from a distance. This fist was tyrannical in the starry skies, immediately shattering the alarm bell. Pooh! The group of experts who were currently ringing the alarm bell collapsed in a bloody light one after another, dying mysteriously. Who is it? The ancestral hall's vast territory was shaken. For a time, demons and devils danced about chaotically. A terrifying aura spread outwards. These millions and millions of li of territory began to shake. Too many experts were reviving, releasing tremendous roars. A powerful enemy invaded, deep and unfathomable. They already broke into the depths of the ancestral hall, even shattering the alarm bell. This was a humiliation to the entire ancestral hall. Countless experts rushed towards the area where the alarm bell shattered. However, the moment they arrived, a group of old freaks roared, their roars reaching into the heavens. Because they were too passive and humiliated, they didn't even see who it was. An even more cruel and bloody event happened. Pung! At the limits of the horizon was the ancestral hall's forbidden land. However, this place was actually dark red, the smell of blood rushing into the heavens. Large amounts of experts flew out like scarecrows, body and soul wiped out one after another. They didn't even see the enemy, already dying. It was hard to imagine just how powerful this person was. Not good. An expert broke into old ancestor Tian Ba's Dao right. There were experts who survived who roared. This was the ancestral realm's most important forbidden land, where the ancestral hall's most precious supreme treasures were stored. Yet now, there was someone who forcefully broke in. This wasn't just sneaking in, but directly slaughtering their way in, blasting apart the entire Forbidden Land's protectors. More chapters, there's more tonight.